Chapter 1485. Yang Ming felt a chill in his heart. He was very surprised by Jetson's keen senses. Yang Ming was an assassin. Although his footsteps were not as good as Wang Xiaoyan's family's secret technique, butterfly microsteps, it was still superb. Yang Ming could even pass through the grass without alerting a bird, but Jetson had sensed it here. This made Yang Ming sigh with some regret in his heart. I wanted to try to sneak attack Jetson, but now it seems impossible. This Jetson really can't be underestimated. I won't let you wait in vain. Since he had been discovered by the other party, Yang Ming naturally didn't intend to hide it. He walked out from the trees that were hidden by the side. You're Jetson, right? Kevithan's cousin. You're quite well informed. Jetson didn't admit it, but he didn't deny it either. He snorted coldly as if he disdained to talk to Yang Ming. Tell me about your background. Looking at your skills, you don't look like a nobody. Yang Ming said lightly, do you really want to stand up for the Lancer family? Naturally, there is no need to tell you my background. Jetson smiled coldly, tonight, you will become a victim. You won't leave here alive, so there is no point in telling you this. Since you are so sure that I will become a dead person, it's okay to talk about it. You should at least let me know when I die, right? Yang Ming smiled faintly as if he didn't care about life and death at all. Kid, you don't have to find something to talk about, and you don't have to think about unrealistic things. Do you want to know my background? Jetson looked at Yang Ming blankly, but, it's okay to tell you. The fact that Jetson came from Central was not a secret, so there was no need for Jetson to hide it. Since Yang Ming wanted to know, then it was okay to talk about it. In Jetson's eyes, Yang Ming had become a dead person. It was good to let him know when he died. Yang Ming nodded slightly and motioned for Jetson to continue. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't refuse to know some of the enemy's details. However, Yang Ming was also always on guard against Jetson's sudden attack. After all, the two sides were in a hostile state. How could there be any trust in what was said? If Jetson suddenly launched an attack when Yang Ming was caught off guard, it would be hard to say what would happen. However, Jetson didn't seem to have this intention at all. Was he too arrogant? He wasn't afraid that Yang Ming would escape or suddenly attack. Or was he just a gentleman who would tell the truth? Kid, listen carefully. I come from Central, a mysterious place that you can't imagine at all. If you die, no one will avenge you. Of course, no one will dare to avenge you and offend Central's people. When Jetson said the word Central, a look of reverence suddenly appeared in his eyes. Central. Yang Ming was slightly stunned. He had never heard of this place and didn't know what this place did. Is it an organization or institution? It sounds like it. Central. Is it very powerful? Yang Ming asked indifferently. Ignorant person. Jetson shook his head. It seemed that he disdained to explain anything to Yang Ming. Die. If you didn't come here, I wouldn't be able to attack ordinary people at will due to the rules of Central. But since you sent yourself to me, Yang Ming's heart shuddered. He suddenly raised his attention to the peak. Jetson was going to attack. Yang Ming couldn't not be on guard. However, Yang Ming heard a message from Jetson's words. That was, Central's people didn't seem to be able to take the initiative to attack others. This made Yang Ming feel relieved in his heart. Although Yang Ming didn't know what Central was, since it was an organization, there must be a lot of people. If he really killed Jetson today, it would be really difficult for him to deal with if a lot of Jetsons ran out from Central. Not only that, but the Butterfly family and the Buffon family would become such a big enemy in the future. It could be said that there would be endless troubles in the future. But since Jetson said so, Yang Ming was relieved. A flying needle was clasped in the palm of his hand. This was Yang Ming's tried and tested assassination method. Even if he faced the enemy head-on, Yang Ming was confident that he could make the enemy suffer a hidden loss. After all, the current world was not like ancient times. How could there be so many hidden weapons? Nowadays, the most important thing to be wary of in a fight was guns, guarding against the opponent's sudden attack with a gun. No one would have thought that there would be people in this world who could hurt people with flying needles. This was also one of Yang Ming's trump cards. The reason why he dared to come here and face Jetson head-on was because he had a flying needle in hand. Yang Ming was 100% sure that he could hit Jetson. As for whether Jetson could be killed in one blow, Yang Ming couldn't guarantee, but it shouldn't be easy for him. Therefore, when Jetson's figure suddenly moved and stood up from the pavilion seat, Yang Ming had already calculated where Jetson's neck would move next. A flying needle flew out of his hand and shot directly at Jetson. Humph. The flying needle shot at Jetson's neck, but it didn't penetrate his skin. Jetson casually pushed it aside and threw it to the ground. What the hell is this? A mosquito. Jetson, is he actually fine? Yang Ming saw clearly that the flying needle had hit Jetson. He was complacent in his heart because he had hit Jetson effortlessly. However, the result was beyond his expectations. The flying needle didn't hurt Jetson at all. It didn't even scratch his skin. Is there some kind of protective measure on this person's neck? However, Yang Ming didn't have time to think about it. Jetson had already gotten up and charged at Yang Ming. A pair of giant hands grabbed at Yang Ming fiercely. Chapter 1486. Yang Ming had noticed that something was wrong before. His kick to Jetson's lower abdomen was very heavy. It was not something that ordinary people could bear. Yang Ming asked himself. Even if he was hit by such a strong force, he would probably end up seriously injured. However, Jetson did not seem to have suffered any damage. Yang Ming's kick did not even cause a pause in Jetson's movements. It was as if this kick was not on Jetson's body at all, but on someone else's body. Yang Ming's kick did not even cause a pause in Jetson's movements. Yang Ming had no time to think about the reason, so he kicked a second time in a dangerous situation. If this kick was solid, Yang Ming did not believe that Jetson would not have suffered any damage. Bang! Yang Ming's 2 feet kicked Jetson's face at the same time. Yang Ming could even imagine the scene of Jetson's nose bleeding. Because the bridge of the nose was one of the most fragile bones in the human body, it was impossible not to be injured under a heavy blow. However, Yang Ming had learned his previous lesson. After this kick, his body quickly used the force of stepping on Jetson's face to do a backflip and landed firmly on the ground 10 feet away. Yang Ming had just stabilized his feet, but he was shocked to find that Jetson was still attacking him at a very fast speed. His kick still did not seem to cause any damage to him. On Jetson's face, there were 2 obvious footprints, but there were no bruises. There was also no nosebleed as Yang Ming had imagined. It seemed that Yang Ming had kicked an iron plate. Yang Ming's expression suddenly changed again. Could it be that this Jetson is? Thinking of this, Yang Ming couldn't help but think of Tianlong. He had once fought with Tianlong, the successor of the Shaolin Temple's Golden Bell Shield. So, Yang Ming couldn't help but association. Could this person named Jetson also practice a similar technique? It must be known that the Golden Bell Shield was not only available in China's Shaolin Temple. There were also some similar external techniques in some other countries. It was not surprising that Jetson had learned something similar. The key problem was that this guy seemed to be a bit stronger than Tianlong. When he fought with Tianlong, although Tianlong was also invulnerable, it was only after he used his technique and entered a temporary berserk state. This Jetson didn't seem to be using any technique, but he was directly invulnerable. Moreover, although Tianlong's martial arts were excellent, he would still react when Yang Ming hit him. Although it did not cause any damage, he was still a flesh and blood body after all. However, this Jetson in front of him didn't seem to regard this body as his own at all. No matter how Yang Ming hit him, he didn't seem to feel anything. Seeing that Jetson was about to rush to his side, Yang Ming's heart tightened and he quickly retreated. However, he regretfully found that Jetson's speed seemed to be a bit faster than his own. This made Yang Ming feel a long-lost fear in his heart. It had been a long time since he had this feeling. Since Yang Ming became the successor of the King of Assassins, he had embarked on a rapidly growing path and slowly walked to the peak of life. Although there were constant dangers and enemies around him, Yang Ming had never been so frightened. At this moment, the pressure Jetson gave him came from the kind of oppression between life and death, which made Yang Ming feel breathless. What kind of martial arts are you practicing? Is it an external defensive technique? Yang Ming's figure retreated quickly as he asked in surprise. External martial arts of thwart training. Jetson sneered a few times after hearing this, but he didn't answer Yang Ming's question. He didn't deny nor confirm, but his speed didn't slow down at all. Yang Ming frowned. He didn't know what Jetson meant, but since he had such an ambiguous attitude, Yang Ming somewhat believed that Jetson really practiced some kind of external martial arts. Thinking of this, Yang Ming gritted his teeth. While retreating, he began to use his X-ray vision to look for Jetson's weak point. Since Tianlong had a weak point, it meant that Jetson should have the same weak point. This was the weakness of external martial arts. It wasn't something that anyone could change. It was just that the position of each person's weak point was different. Therefore, even though many people knew this, it was still extremely difficult to find the weak spot of the opponent. Most likely, they would be killed by the opponent before they could find it. This was also the reason why many people still rushed to practice this kind of defensive technique even though they knew that it had such a flaw. Now, Yang Ming had understood why Wang Songshan was captured here. Even if there were two Wang Songshans, they wouldn't be a match for such an abnormal guy. For a guy like Jetson, who was invulnerable and didn't react no matter how he was hit, Wang Songshan would still be helpless even if he had 180 methods. However, since Yang Ming had figured out Jetson's abnormality in his defensive technique, he wasn't so worried. As long as he could find a way to stall for time and find Jetson's weak point, he could kill Jetson in one fell swoop. Thinking of this, Yang Ming began to scan Jetson's body. However, at first glance, Yang Ming almost lost his balance and sat on the ground. This was because the internal structure of Jetson's body was fundamentally different from that of a normal person. He was not a person, but a machine. Inside Jetson's body, there were a lot of sophisticated electronic components. Yang Ming almost screamed out in horror. Fortunately, Yang Ming's psychological quality was very strong, otherwise, Jetson would have almost caught up with him. Fuck. Yang Ming really wanted to curse at the sky. Isn't this too fucking evil? This time, he had actually encountered a robot. No wonder Jetson is so resistant and invulnerable. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly. Is a robot afraid of being hit? Kevithan's cousin is actually a robot. What kind of logic is this? And what kind of organization was the Central? How can they make such a sophisticated robot? Isn't this a bit too heaven-defying? However, thinking about the magical glasses on his body, Yang Ming guessed that it was also a heaven-defying high-tech product. It was even 100 times better than the robot in front of him. Thinking of this, Yang Ming was not so surprised. After all, there were too many capable people in this world, and he couldn't know all of them. Therefore, apart from being surprised by Jetson's body structure, Yang Ming fell into contemplation. Previously, he wanted to defeat Jetson by looking for his weak point, but now it seemed that this wouldn't work at all. Do you expect a machine to have a weak point? Isn't that a joke? Can a machine and a human be equal? Yang Ming was even a little desperate at this moment. If his opponent was a human, then Yang Ming would have some confidence to win. But now he was facing a non-human. No matter how capable Yang Ming was, he couldn't do anything. This kind of thing couldn't be killed or damaged, which gave Yang Ming a headache. All the assassination methods in the past were useless. Even if Yang Ming wanted to give up the idea of killing Jetson, it was probably impossible. This time, whether he could escape or not was another matter. Jetson's speed was too fast, beyond Yang Ming's imagination. However, it was natural for a robot to be faster. It was just that this was the first time Yang Ming had encountered such a situation in his life. Are you a robot? How can you have a human's mind? Are you Kevithan's cousin? Have you been transformed by Central? The idea of escaping from this place rose in Yang Ming's heart. Although saving Wang Songshan was very important, if he left this place alone, Wang Songshan would probably never be able to return. At that time, Wang Xiaoyan would definitely be very sad. But compared to that, his own life was more important. Yang Ming was not a reckless man. It was simply stupid to continue to fight desperately when he knew that he was no match for Jetson. So, when Yang Ming had the thought of retreating in his heart, he suddenly asked a series of tricky and strange questions. Oh. Just as Yang Ming expected, Jetson's figure stagnated. Even though he was a robot, Jetson's heart couldn't calm down after Yang Ming exposed his biggest secret. After all, his mind was still that of the previous Jetson, but his body had been transformed into a machine. This secret was only known by Central's people. No one in the Lancer family, including Kevithan, knew. So, how did this person named Yang Ming know? Chapter 1487. Yang Ming was overjoyed when he saw that Jetson was indeed affected by his words. Yang Ming's original intention was to let Jetson be affected by his question. As long as he could stall for a short moment, Yang Ming was confident that he could escape from this place. Kid, how did you know? Jetson's expression suddenly became gloomy and uncertain. The speed of his attack on Yang Ming also slowed down. Although he was still chasing after Yang Ming, he did not attack again. Jetson didn't intend to let Yang Ming go. He held back at this moment because he wanted to figure out how Yang Ming knew his secret. This was a secret that he had never told anyone. This was Central's first-class secret, and Jetson was not allowed to reveal it. Even to Falcon, who was about to assist him, Jetson was not allowed to tell his identity truthfully. Therefore, when Yang Ming suddenly revealed Jetson's secret, Jetson was shocked and angry. He wanted to quickly silence Yang Ming on the spot, but he didn't know how Yang Ming got this information. If he killed Yang Ming, wouldn't he cut off the source of the information? Jetson wanted to figure out where Yang Ming got this information, or how Yang Ming found this flaw. If Yang Ming heard it from someone else, then Jetson didn't mind killing the person who told Yang Ming. In order to keep Central's secret, it was not against the rules to take the initiative to kill a person. If Yang Ming discovered this secret himself, then Jetson would also ask Yang Ming how he found out and what flaws he had. He must ask clearly and then destroy this flaw to avoid similar troubles in the future. Hee, do you really want to know? Yang Ming found a way out when Jetson hesitated. His figure moved and quickly ran in the opposite direction from before. He said while running, "If you want to know, catch me first. Kid, you're courting death." Seeing Yang Ming escape quickly while he was relaxed, Jetson was extremely angry, but he didn't dare to kill Yang Ming directly. He could only follow behind Yang Ming, wanting to catch him and ask him. The road Yang Ming took was an abandoned path leading to the backyard of the Lancer family's manor. This road should have been abandoned many years ago because the left and right sides of this road were full of abandoned steel, wooden planks, and some sundries. This road was almost full of obstacles. Not to mention that it was now night. Even if it was daytime, one might not be able to walk too fast without touching these things. However, Yang Ming relied on the terrain he had scouted outside the manor and his special ability to see at night. His figure shuttled through these wastes like a loach. Jetson naturally couldn't do it. Although he was a robot, he didn't have Yang Ming's special ability to see through things. Especially in this kind of night where visibility was very low, Jetson couldn't dodge left and right like Yang Ming. Jetson inevitably touched the things around him, directly hindering his forward speed. Jetson didn't walk far before he found that he had been tricked by Yang Ming. Originally, Jetson thought that Yang Ming was simply courting death by choosing this kind of road full of obstacles to escape. However, he didn't expect that Yang Ming's figure would dodge left and right with unusual dexterity. Even the corners of his clothes didn't touch these wastes. Jetson knew that he had been fooled. Although he didn't know how Yang Ming did this, Yang Ming did do it. Jetson saw that the distance between Yang Ming and himself seemed to have increased again. He was anxious and didn't care about anything else. He simply didn't dodge and directly crashed into the wastes. He was like a tank that was clearing the way. The wastes flew everywhere, but he didn't suffer any damage. However, in the case of Jetson's brute force, the distance between him and Yang Ming was abruptly shortened by a lot. Yang Ming wiped the sweat on his head and scolded Jetson in his heart. This Jetson is really too fierce. It seems that my escape plan can't be realized. If this continues, I'm afraid I still can't escape from Jetson's palm. Yang Ming's heart was burning with anxiety. He ran while thinking about the next step of the plan. Yang Ming had to admit that this was the most embarrassing and miserable action he had ever taken since his debut. He was actually forced by the enemy to the point where he couldn't escape and even had the possibility of losing his life here. Looking at Jetson chasing behind him like a mad dog, Yang Ming's mind quickly ran through several countermeasures, but they were quickly rejected by Yang Ming. With Jetson's speed, it was probably impossible for Yang Ming to escape like this. Even if Yang Ming could outrun him and always find some extremely difficult paths with his special ability, he was still a human after all. There would always be times when he would be tired, but the other party was a machine. If this continued, he would always be able to catch Yang Ming. So, it seemed that there was only one possibility today, and that was to fight to the death. Yang Ming also saw that as long as he didn't get rid of Jetson, he had no way to survive at all. He couldn't even think about escaping. However, how difficult would it be to get rid of Jetson? The key was that Yang Ming's ability was there. It was simply unrealistic to get rid of Jetson. Yang Ming didn't expect Jetson to be unlucky and suddenly die for no reason. Unlucky and die. Yang Ming thought of this and suddenly thought of something. I'm afraid that it's impossible to kill Jetson with my current ability. However, what if he dies by himself? It would be a good idea to let Jetson die by himself. Although he was fantasizing about this in his heart, Yang Ming's legs didn't relax at all. He still ran forward crazily. Suddenly, Yang Ming saw a place not far away, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Isn't the opportunity right in front of me? Success or failure may depend on this move. I hope that this Jetson's IQ isn't so high. Since he had made up his mind, Yang Ming didn't dare to neglect his legs. He frantically ran toward the destination in front of him. The obstacles in front of him were getting fewer and fewer. In the end, they disappeared, turning into an empty space. Jetson, who was behind Yang Ming, was overjoyed when he saw this scene. As long as there were no more eyesores, wouldn't it be easy to catch up to Yang Ming? Yang Ming also seemed to be aware of this point. His footsteps became even faster, as if he was stepping on the wind fire wheel. Once again, his luck broke out and he ran forward with all his might. In front of Yang Ming, there was an area enclosed by a wall. In a situation where it seemed that there was no way to escape, Yang Ming grabbed the wall with both hands and jumped up forcefully. With a whoosh, he leaped to the other side of the wall. Jetson, who was behind Yang Ming, was shocked when he saw Yang Ming actually jump over the wall. He didn't know what Yang Ming was planning. He was afraid that Yang Ming would suddenly disappear after entering the wall, so he ran faster. He came to the wall that Yang Ming had jumped over and imitated Yang Ming. He grabbed the wall with both hands and wanted to jump in. Whoosh! Jetson also jumped up and jumped into the wall. Seeing that Jetson had also jumped in with him, Yang Ming finally breathed a sigh of relief. A contemptuous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Robots are still not good. There is a difference in IQ between humans. What an idiot. Chapter 1488. At this moment, Yang Ming was lying on the wall like a gecko. His hands were clasped tightly to the gap in the wall, and his feet were also forcefully stepping on a gap. Even so, Yang Ming couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. This was because as long as Yang Ming was slightly careless, he could follow in Jetson's footsteps. Below Yang Ming was the burning hot coal. This was where the heating of the entire Lancer family was located. The place surrounded by the wall was the Lancer family's boiler room, and Yang Ming's feet happened to be a vent of the underground boiler. Looking at the bursts of green smoke coming out from the vent under his feet, Yang Ming quickly moved his body to the side with lingering fear and finally landed on the ground next to the vent. Previously, just the billowing hot air coming out of the vent made Yang Ming feel as if his whole body was being roasted. The situation of Jetson, who had fallen in, could be imagined. The burning inside was something like coke, and the burning temperature could reach thousands of degrees Celsius. This was what was used to smelt iron. Jetson, who was mostly composed of metal, could not escape this and directly melted into a pool of molten iron. The trouble was finally solved. Jetson was finally dead, which made Yang Ming breathe a sigh of relief. When Yang Ming ran over previously, he had used his special ability to observe this place, so Yang Ming decided to take a gamble. Even if Jetson had lived in the Lancer family's manor for a while, it was impossible for him to know that this was the location of the burning pool that heated the entire manor. As a distinguished guest of the Lancer family, no one would tell him these things, and there was no need to say these things. No one would have thought that this burning pool would become the place where Jetson died. Therefore, Yang Ming found the location of the vent and remembered the location of a few convex and concave gaps on the wall in advance. He took a risk once. After crossing the wall, he attached himself to the inner side of the wall like a gecko. Jetson didn't know that, so he directly crossed the wall and jumped down, directly ending his life. Before this, Jetson was really not prepared for Yang Ming to play such a trick. In his opinion, Yang Ming was an outsider. It was impossible for him to know the situation in the Lancer family's manor like the back of his hand. Even if he ran into a path full of obstacles, Jetson thought that Yang Ming had randomly chosen such a path. As for Yang Ming nimbly dodging these obstacles, Jetson did not suspect much. He just thought that it was Yang Ming's dexterity. After all, even if he was familiar with the situation in the manor, it was impossible to recite the location of these broken obstacles. Even people who walked in the manor all day could not do this, let alone Yang Ming who suddenly came here. As for running to the open land later, Jetson thought that the path Yang Ming had chosen before was found by accident. Yang Ming had almost no way to escape here, so it was not a special thing for Yang Ming to jump into a wall in a panic. Jetson also jumped in with Yang Ming without any precaution. What was there for Jetson to be afraid of when Yang Ming could jump in? However, at that time, Jetson also noticed that something was wrong when he touched the wall with his hands. Was it because the temperature on the wall was a little higher? After all, there was a vent under the wall. Hot air gushed out from the vent. Even if it was cold at night, he could still feel it. However, Jetson was a robot. His ability to withstand heat was obviously much higher than that of ordinary people, so this heat was nothing in Jetson's eyes. Moreover, he didn't have time to think about it at that time. Yang Ming had already discovered his big secret. His only thought now was to catch Yang Ming, ask the truth of the matter, and finally silence him. Therefore, in such an extremely anxious heart, Jetson really didn't have time to pay attention to the abnormality on the wall. As a result, it was precisely because of this that he ended up in tragedy. Yang Ming came back from behind the wall and heard a faint sound of people coming from not far away. There was also the light of a searchlight. It seemed that the people of the Lancer family had rushed over. The previous fight between Yang Ming and Jetson should have attracted the attention of these people, so they rushed to the scene of the incident. However, after Yang Ming and Jetson had only exchanged a few moves, one started to run while the other started to chase. Their speed was far beyond imagination, and they took a path full of obstacles in the middle of the night. This also caused the people of the Lancer family to be unable to catch up with Yang Ming and Jetson, so they only rushed over now. "Family Master, it's just a clown. You actually came in person." The person leading the team was Thomas. After all, the person Jetson was going to kill this time was directly related to the interests of his grandson, Good. Therefore, Thomas personally volunteered to bring a team of people to Jetson. As for whether this team of people could play any role, Thomas never thought about it. After all, with Jetson's extraordinary strength, he didn't need the help of these people at all. He could completely deal with Yang Ming alone, so the people Thomas brought were just for show. Thomas was rushing in the direction where Yang Ming had escaped with his people. He turned his head and saw the family master, Kevithan, rushing over with his people. Thomas didn't dare to neglect his nephew. After all, he had the super terrifying backing of Jetson, so Thomas could be said to be respectful to Kevithan. Cousin Jetson has shown his prowess. How can I not come and see? Kevithan laughed and said, I have already instructed the kitchen to prepare a celebration banquet. When the matter here is over, we will have a big celebration. I don't know if we can let the juniors come together during the celebration. Thomas was thinking about his grandson, Good. He believed that Good would be very happy and want to celebrate Yang Ming's death. Of course, this is a joyous day for our Lancer family. You can ask Good to come together. We can also discuss the marriage proposal to Wang Song's Han. Kevithan nodded and readily agreed. Now, the family was about to take off, and it was a good time to win people's hearts. Kevithan knew very well that even though his second uncle Thomas was obedient to him now, it was because of his cousin Jetson. With cousin Jetson, everyone in the Lancer family would respect him, but once cousin Jetson left, the situation would probably return to how it was before. Kevithan knew that cousin Jetson couldn't stay here for a long time. When the matter was resolved, it would probably be the day of Jetson's departure. Kevithan didn't believe that Thomas and Leckroft would not rebound at that time. Therefore, if he could win the support of the old family master, Thomas, at this time, he would be able to sit firmly in the position of the family master in the future. After all, this family had been controlled by Thomas for decades, and the forces cultivated in it were not few. If these people could support him, Kevithan would no longer be afraid of Leckroft's disloyalty. Thomas was very happy to hear that Kevithan readily agreed to this matter. After all, no matter what, the final result of this matter was worthy of his grandson. Although he had lost the position of the family master, the position of the family master had always been occupied by the capable. Now that Kevithan could do so many things for the family, the Lancer family would probably rise to a higher level in the future. However, he felt somewhat sorry for his grandson, which Thomas sighed. Nothing could be perfect. There were always gains and losses. Thank you, Patriarch. I'm really happy for my grandson. Thomas said with a smile. Uncle Thomas is too polite. Kevithan smiled. We are all family. Don't say those unconventional words. The Lancer family will get better and better in the future. We will become the first family in the upper-class society. Everyone will look up to us. I believe that this moment will not be too far away. Thomas nodded in agreement. I believe that the family master will become the greatest family master in the history of the Lancer family. Although Kevithan knew that this was mostly flattery, it was also a happy thing to be able to get the recognition of the previous family master, his second uncle Thomas. Chapter 1489. Uncle Thomas, you must be joking. How can I deserve this honor? On the contrary, in the decades that Uncle Thomas has led the Lancer family, our Lancer family has really changed from a second or third-rate family to a member of the upper class. Kevithan's words were not wrong, because the Lancer family had really accumulated a lot of wealth since the first generation of family master, Thomas. The arms business was getting bigger and bigger, and the family quickly developed and grew. His contributions were indeed indispensable. Thomas was delighted when he heard that Kevithan did not take credit for himself. He said, however, there will always be a day when people are old. Now, it is the world of you young people. If the family master has any instructions in the future, just say it. I, your second uncle, will never refuse if I can do it. Kevithan was overjoyed when he heard Thomas's solemn statement for the first time. It seemed that Thomas really wanted to delegate power, and the forces he cultivated were also expected to be handed over. This also showed that his position as the family master would continue to be stable. Family master, it's not good. It's not good. Something big has happened. A family's inner disciple quickly ran over here, shouting loudly as he ran. Kevithan was very happy at the moment. When he suddenly heard this mournful voice, he immediately frowned. No matter who it was that had destroyed the harmonious and warm atmosphere that had been created with great difficulty, they would not feel good. Especially now that Kevithan had just reached a consensus with Thomas and was about to continue to have a few in-depth conversations, but he was interrupted abruptly. He couldn't help but say angrily, "What nonsense is this? What are you shouting for? What do you mean something big has happened? What big things can happen? The most important thing now is to wait for Cousin Jetson to come back and celebrate together." Yes. The disciple did not dare to contradict Kevithan. He quickly lowered his head and said carefully, "But family master, this subordinate does have something important to report." Just report. What's the point of yelling? Kevithan glared at him and said, "Remember, we are members of the Lancer family. The current Lancer family is different from the previous Lancer family. We are now a first-class family. How can we be so unruly?" "Yes, family master." After being reprimanded, the disciple could only bow his head and say carefully, "I'm sorry, family master. I will be more careful in the future, but this matter is really important. That's why this subordinate is so flustered. With Cousin Jetson here, what can't be dealt with? Is it necessary?" Kevithan was still angry. He snorted sarcastically, and continued, "Okay, what is it? Hurry up and say it." "Master, the servant in charge of the family master Good's daily life has found that he." The disciple paused. "What's the matter?" asked Kevithan, the family master of the family master of the family master. "Can't." Seeing that this family disciple is so nervous, it is really possible. Thinking of this, Thomas's heart trembled. He had just expressed goodwill to Kevithan, intending to let Kevithan support Good in the future and let him become the family master of the Douglas family. This way, although he would not be the helmsman of the Lancer family, he could still give Good some support. But now, he didn't see this kid at first glance. Did something really happen? Young Master Good is dead. The disciple was shocked and said hurriedly. What? What did you say? Kevithan didn't seem to hear the disciple's words clearly. He widened his eyes and looked at the disciple. However, the nervous look on his face clearly told everyone that he heard the disciple's words, but he just couldn't believe it. Thomas was also shocked at this moment. He grabbed the disciple and asked loudly, "You said that good is dead. My grandson is dead. Is there a mistake? This is not the time to joke around." Family master, second elder, how would this subordinate dare to joke around? Young Master Good's servant has already called the doctor, but the doctor said that young Master Good had already died. This subordinate hurriedly came to report. The disciple said bitterly, "Good, my grandson." Thomas's voice became shrill, and his eyes became bloodshot. "Tell me, how did Good die? How did he die? This is for no reason. Wasn't he fine before?" Second elder, please calm down first. This subordinate really doesn't know. According to the doctor who went, young Master Good had no external injuries at all. He couldn't see how he died. It can only be known after a careful examination. The disciple responded carefully. "Tell me the situation at that time in detail." Kevithan didn't care about Good's life or death, but this was a great opportunity to use Good as a bargaining chip to make a good relationship with Thomas. Good died so inexplicably. How could Kevithan not be angry? Isn't this death too timely? Yes. The disciple said, "It's like this. Family master, didn't you order to hold a large celebration banquet after Mr. Jetson's triumphant return? So the servants and the family don't know if family master will allow the younger generation in the family to participate, but it is necessary to prepare in advance." So the servant in charge of young Master Good's daily life took the hairstylist to find young Master Good, but no one answered after knocking on the door for a long time. At first, they thought that young Master Good was asleep, so the servant found the old butler, Uncle Salter, and opened the door with the spare key. As a result, they found young Master Good lying motionless on the bed. At first, everyone thought that he was sleeping, but after calling him a few times, there was no movement. So the servant stepped forward and planned to shake young Master Good to wake him up. As a result, when they took a closer look, they found that young Master Good was no longer breathing. At this time, everyone hurriedly asked the doctor to come over. After the doctor's examination, young Master Good has passed away. This is impossible. How is this possible? Thomas suddenly became manic. He waved his hands as if he was crazy. He was killed by someone. He was killed by that Yang Ming. It must be. It must be like this. Second uncle, please calm down first. Kevithan saw Thomas enter a state of madness and quickly pulled him. Second uncle, that Yang Ming is being chased by cousin Jetson at the moment. How can he be distracted to assassinate Good? I'm afraid there's something else going on, right? Or maybe, everyone got it wrong. It must be that Yang Ming went to Good's place first. After killing my grandson, he went to find Jetson. It must be like this. Thomas didn't believe Kevithan's explanation. He shook his head and growled. Second uncle, you also know how strict our family's defense is. How could Yang Ming sneak to Good's place and kill him without anyone noticing? And no one noticed it along the way. Is this possible? Kevithan said, moreover, so far, we haven't received any news of a disciple being killed. How did Yang Ming find Good's residence, and how did he bypass the heavy defense to find Good? After Kevithan said this, Thomas calmed down a little. After all, what Kevithan said was very reasonable. How did Yang Ming find Good? How did he manage to avoid those patrolling guards without making a sound? No. In this case, how did Yang Ming find Jetson? It stands to reason that he didn't kill any disciple. How did he find the place where Wang Songshan was imprisoned? Thomas was not a stupid person. On the contrary, he was very smart. He immediately thought of the abnormality of the matter. When Kevithan heard Thomas's words, he immediately felt that something was wrong. How did Yang Ming know these things? It must be Yang Ming who killed Good. I'm going to tear him into pieces. The more Thomas thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Although he didn't know how Yang Ming did it, it must have been done by Yang Ming when he connected the whole thing. Chapter 1490. Don't worry, second uncle. Yang Ming's death is inevitable. He definitely can't escape from Cousin Jetson's palm. Kevithan's heart was also filled with hatred. Now that Good was dead, things had become complicated. He didn't know how to maintain his transaction relationship with Thomas. Of course. I won't let him go even if he dies. Thomas said fiercely, I want to hang his body at the front door of the Lancer family. I want to let people know the consequences of offending our Lancer family. Of course, this is what you should do. Kevithan nodded and did not deny Thomas's suggestion. In this kind of upper-class society, many big families were above the law, especially those like the Lancer family who owned private territories. They had absolute authority to deal with people who trespassed into private territories. Even if it was inhumane to hang the body at the door, no one would come to the Lancer family for this. Especially at this moment when the Lancer family's strength was unprecedentedly powerful. Who would want to provoke this behemoth at this time? In order to befriend Thomas, Kevithan naturally would not oppose him on these insignificant matters. Kevithan even had the thought of making an example out of Thomas. Family Master, can you make an exception for Mr. Jetson and let him capture Yang Ming alive? I want to kill this bastard with my own hands and avenge my grandson, Good. Kevithan hesitated. Although it was not very good to interfere with Cousin Jetson at this time, he definitely didn't want to displease Thomas at this moment. Only when Thomas was satisfied and avenged could he sincerely assist him and make his position as the family master more stable. Patriarch, I'll have to trouble you. I'll keep my word. Thomas promised fiercely. Okay. Kevithan sighed, picked up the walkie-talkie in his hand, and pressed a few numbers. It was Jetson's terminal number, and then said, Cousin Jetson, I'm Kevithan. I have something to trouble you with. Can you capture that Yang Ming alive? I still have use for this person. Kevithan knew that Jetson would definitely give him face. Since Cousin Jetson was able to come back to help him this time, it also explained Cousin Jetson's intentions. Therefore, Kevithan was not worried that Jetson would refuse him, but out of respect, he still asked in a negotiating tone. After Kevithan finished speaking, he quietly waited for Jetson's answer. However, after waiting for a long time, no sound came from the walkie-talkie. Cousin Jetson. Are you there? Please reply if you hear me. Kevithan said strangely into the walkie-talkie. However, after waiting for a while, there was still no movement from the walkie-talkie. Kevithan suddenly frowned. Family Master, is Mr. Jetson angry? If this is the case, then I think it's better to forget it. Although Thomas wanted to kill Yang Ming personally, if it was impossible, then forget it. This kid may be a bit tricky. Although Kevithan didn't think too highly of Yang Ming, he also knew that he was the disciple of the King of Assassins, so he didn't dare to be too negligent and reminded him. Family Master, he is just a kid. There is no need to be so cautious. Thomas smiled and said, it just so happens that I can kill this kid with my own hands. Kevithan nodded, but his eyes were looking at the field without blinking. These guards were not personally trained by him, but they were trained when Thomas was in power, so Kevithan's confidence in these people was naturally not as strong as Thomas's. Now, if he didn't catch Yang Ming for a moment, he would not relax his vigilance. Yang Ming looked at the group of so-called elites trained by the Lancer family who were full of flaws in front of him, and sighed slightly. Letting these weak people come up is simply courting death. If they were as strong as Jetson, Yang Ming would deal with them carefully. But now, Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He even felt that he couldn't make a move. However, this was not the time for sympathy. Since these people had chosen to join the Lancer family, they were not worthy of sympathy. Pitiful people must have something hateful. Yang Ming casually waved his hand and sealed the acupoints of the people closest to him. These acupoints were one of the fatal acupoints of the human body. Under Yang Ming's attack, these people all fell to the ground silently. They didn't even groan, and they didn't even know how they died. Seeing that Yang Ming had knocked down 7 or 8 people with a wave of his hand, the guards all showed horrified expressions. These days, they had been sent out by Kevathan to find trouble with others, smash other people's shops, and beat up people from other families. These were all their specialties. At this moment, they were thinking of bullying Yang Ming, but they didn't expect the other party to be a tough nut to crack. Before they could make a move, so many people had already been lost on their side. Looking at the teammates who had fought with them, robbed with them, drank with them at night, and played with women with them a few days ago, everyone was moved. Sante, the captain of the guards, gulped bitterly, but he was in a dilemma. The family master had ordered that he couldn't back down at this moment. But isn't this person in front of me too terrifying? Sante only felt that his scalp was about to explode. He knew very well that these people were not the opponent of the person in front of him at all. Going forward was just courting death. Chapter 1491. Since Sante could see the current situation, Kevathan and Thomas could naturally see it too. Although Kevathan had overestimated Yang Ming before and reminded the guards to be careful, he still underestimated Yang Ming's ability. Thomas, on the other hand, was even more terrified. He didn't expect Yang Ming's skill to have become so terrifying. He killed so many people with just a raise of his hand. How fierce is this? Kill him, use guns. Kevathan did not dare to underestimate this time and quickly reminded. After all, these people were the family's security forces. Kevathan's heart was naturally uncomfortable with so many of them dying at once. Save your strength, don't fight him head-on. Thomas also hurriedly reminded. He also didn't want these forces he cultivated to disappear. However, Kevathan and Thomas's words were still a step too late. The remaining few people all died in the span of a breath. Even Sante didn't wait to pull out his pistol and fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. If these people used guns from the beginning, Yang Ming would not be hit by these people, but it would take some effort to kill them. At the very least, it would waste some flying needles. At least, it would not be so easy. However, Thomas and Kevathan were too careless before, so they sacrificed all 20 family elites. I'm really sorry. I was too fast and couldn't stop. Yang Ming shrugged and smiled apologetically to Kevathan and Thomas. They died before they could pull out their guns, you. Thomas was furious. This Yang Ming was obviously taking advantage of the situation. He was suddenly shocked and angry. He rushed here in a hurry and did not carry any weapons at all. Although he was very angry, he was afraid that Yang Ming would harm him. However, Kevathan brought guns. As a large family that once supplied firearms, it was not unusual for the Lancer family to have guns. When Thomas spoke, Kevathan was ready to reach for the gun on his body. You'd better not act rashly. Maybe you can live a little longer. Yang Ming had X-ray vision. How could he not see that Kevathan was going to touch the gun on his body? Thus, he reminded him with a cold smile. However, the flying needle also slid into his palm in an instant. He was always vigilant. Sure enough, after being frightened by Yang Ming's words, Kevithan's movements really did stop. He didn't dare to move his hand that was touching his pocket. Live a little longer. You sure talk big, huh? Kevithan snorted coldly and said somewhat guiltily. Yang Ming's previous strange skills had deeply shocked Kevithan's heart, so at this moment, Kevithan was also afraid that Yang Ming would suddenly attack. How arrogant. Why don't you give it a try? Yang Ming said indifferently, right, after the test, you will die. It doesn't matter if you know or not. Yang Ming, don't think that you're so powerful. Kevithan snorted, if Cousin Jetson hadn't left here because he had something to do you think you can still stand here alive? If you know what's good for you, surrender obediently, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, when Cousin Jetson comes back and finds out that you dare to harm me, he will destroy your family and the butterfly family. Don't think that I'm bluffing to scare you. Compared to Wang Songshan, who is more powerful? It must be Wang Songshan, right? He has now become Cousin Jetson's loser and prisoner. How good can you be? Cousin Jetson. Yang Ming repeated Kevithan's words, and his face suddenly showed a strange expression. You must have fought with him before, right? Kevithan thought that Yang Ming was afraid and was a little afraid of Cousin Jetson, so he said, if he hadn't left because he had something to do you think you can escape from his palm? He had something to do. Left? Yang Ming's expression became even more strange. Could it be that the old guy Jetson is not dead yet? No, I saw him fall into the burning pool and turn into a wisp of smoke with my own eyes. How about it? Choosing to surrender is a wise move. Otherwise, think about your family and the people of the butterfly family. Kevithan continued to threaten Yang Ming. In his opinion, Yang Ming didn't dare to make a move at the moment because his words had an effect. Jetson told you that he had something to do and left? Yang Ming asked incredulously. You don't need to know whether he told me or not. However, when you were fighting with him, he suddenly left. Isn't this a fact? Kevithan didn't know what Yang Ming meant by asking this, but he still asked. He suddenly left. Yang Ming was slightly stunned, and he understood a little in his heart. He guessed that when the two guys in front of him saw that he was safe and sound, they thought that Jetson had left because he had something to do, so they let him go. However, aren't they a little too blindly trusting of Jetson? Why, is there something wrong? Kevithan also vaguely felt that something was wrong. Otherwise, why would Yang Ming keep asking? You answer me first. Jetson told you personally that he had something to do and left. Yang Ming was a little unwilling to give up. Although he felt that Jetson was dead and couldn't speak again, the other party was a robot. It was possible that some strange things would happen. No, I contacted him with the walkie-talkie, but I couldn't get in touch. Kevithan didn't hide it. If he is fine, how can you still stand here? So that's the case. I thought that the dead could also speak. Yang Ming suddenly nodded and said, you scared me to death. Jetson has turned into a wisp of smoke. If he could speak, it would be a miracle. What did you say? Jetson is dead. Kevithan's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Yang Ming in disbelief and surprise. Impossible, you are lying. Cousin Jetson is invincible. How can he be defeated by you? You are not even as good as Wang Songshan. Who told you that I am not as good as Uncle Wang? Yang Ming replied faintly to Kevithan, that's your own imagination, right? Kevithan was suddenly speechless. Indeed, no one had ever said that Yang Ming was not as good as Wang Songshan. All of this was just his imagination and guess. Then, why didn't you come before? But Wang Songshan took the lead. Originally, we thought that it wouldn't take so much effort to kill good. If Uncle Wang came forward, it would be enough to praise you. However, we didn't expect you to find such a helper from some central place. Yang Ming explained faintly, it was a bit tricky, but he was unlucky. He fell into the burning pool and was burned to death instantly. Burned to death. Kevithan's expression finally changed. Yang Ming said it methodically, and he was so fearless. Is Jetson really dead? Yeah, Yang Ming sighed. It seems that no matter how high one's martial arts are, they are still afraid of burning. You know that my cousin Jetson came from Central, yet you still dare to kill him. A trace of fear finally flashed in Kevithan's eyes. It was the fear of death. What is Central? Is it very special? Yang Ming really didn't know what Central was. He had heard Jetson talk about Central, but he didn't know what was special about Central. Humph, you have offended Central. Just wait for your family to be exterminated. Kevithan said bitterly, Cousin Jetson is already very powerful, but there is an even more powerful Dr. Benjamin behind him. When he finds out that you killed Jetson, it will be your time of death. Dr. Benjamin. This was the first time Yang Ming heard this name, but he silently remembered it in his heart. Since he had already offended the other party, Yang Ming was not afraid of anything, but it was inevitable to be careful in the future. Chapter 1492. How is it? Are you scared? Kevithan saw Yang Ming's contemplative expression and quickly said, I can hand Wang Songshan over to you. You can just take him away. In the future, our two families will mind their own business. I can also keep secrets for you and not leak information to Central. What do you think? After Kevithan heard that Cousin Jetson had been killed by Yang Ming, he no longer had the idea of killing or capturing Yang Ming alive because he knew that no one in the entire Lancer family was Cousin Jetson's opponent. Yang Ming was even more powerful than Cousin Jetson, so Kevithan had no intention of continuing to go against Yang Ming. Previously, Kevithan didn't believe that Cousin Jetson was killed by Yang Ming. However, after hearing Yang Ming's explanation, coupled with the fact that he couldn't contact Cousin Jetson previously, Kevithan had to accept this tragic and fucking fact. He originally thought that the Lancer family was going to be invincible in the world, but he didn't expect that it was just an illusion. In less than 2 minutes, this dream was ruthlessly shattered by Yang Ming. Kevithan was not a fool. The current situation was obviously that the enemy was strong and he was weak. If he didn't show weakness, he would be courting death, so Kevithan put forward his own suggestion. If you didn't say this, I really didn't think so much. Yang Ming looked at Kevithan sympathetically and said, I don't know what Central does. Although I'm not afraid of trouble, it's better to avoid trouble. When it comes to confidentiality, only the dead can keep secrets. So, you should go to the underworld and reunite with your cousin Jetson. Maybe you can establish a Lancer family in the underworld. Wait for me to die 100 years later, then deal with me. You. Kevithan's heart suddenly chilled after hearing Yang Ming's words, you want to destroy my Lancer family. I only want to kill the two of you. As for the others. TSK, if they can live, then they live. If they can't, then it's their own bad luck, Yang Ming said indifferently, as if he was talking about a very normal thing. Yang Ming was very clear about this. He had suffered a big loss because of Wang Jitao, so Yang Ming would not give the Lancer family a chance to turn the situation around and find trouble with him. No one could say whether someone in the Lancer family would have any opportunities in the future and suddenly rise again. Therefore, Yang Ming was simply finding trouble for himself by keeping them alive. You can't do that. Thomas's face was also filled with fear. He didn't doubt Yang Ming's ability, nor did he doubt Yang Ming's thoughts at this moment. Previously, didn't Thomas himself also vow to kill Yang Ming and be happy? He didn't expect Yang Ming to be merciful and let him go at this moment because it was simply impossible. Why can't I do that? Yang Ming looked at Thomas with a smile. Did you plan to let me go when you were strong before this? Sure enough, Yang Ming had guessed his thoughts. Thomas's old face turned red. He couldn't say against his heart that he didn't have the intention to kill Yang Ming before. He just wanted to scare Yang Ming. Even if he said it, Yang Ming had to believe it. Or, can you give me a reason not to kill you? Yang Ming looked at Thomas and said somewhat jokingly. The Lancer family can become a vassal of the Butterfly family and serve the Butterfly family in the future. Thomas hesitated and said resolutely with a determined look on his face. Vassal? Yang Ming looked at Thomas with playful eyes, but didn't care at all. What's the use of the Butterfly family having you as a vassal? You really overestimate the meaning of the Lancer family's existence. Besides, do you still think that you are the family master of the Lancer family? Do you have the right to make the decision? Thomas was suddenly embarrassed by Yang Ming's question. I mean the same. Kevithan stood up at the right time and said to Yang Ming, as long as Mr. Yang promises to let go of the Lancer family, we will be your loyal subordinates in the future. Let me raise a tiger. Maybe when the tiger cub grows up again and comes back to bite me. Yang Ming smiled and said coldly, I think it's better for you to die and create a career with your cousin Jetson in the underworld. I hope you will be more alert in your next life and don't make such a low-level kindergarten child's IQ mistake and go against me. Yang Ming didn't want to listen to Kevithan's nagging anymore. After much consideration, Yang Ming decided to send him on his way. Although Kevithan's previous proposal to let the Lancer family rely on him was a very good tempting idea, Yang Ming didn't dare to do such a thing. Who knew what they were thinking? So, the simplest way was to let him become a dead man. Wait a minute. Kevithan's face became distorted. He no longer cared, reached for his waist, and pulled out the pistol. However, before he could raise his hand to raise the pistol, his eyes widened. His whole body suddenly stiffened, and he fell silently to the ground with a bang. Yang Ming sighed secretly after wasting a flying needle. He turned his head, looked at Thomas's face that had become pale due to shock, and said calmly, It's your turn. Thomas was really disheartened at this moment. He saw that Kevithan had actually died in an instant. Yang Ming didn't even touch Kevithan's body. He just raised his hand, and Kevithan fell to the ground. What kind of martial arts is this? Could it be the legendary inner force or true chi? Thomas had no thoughts of resisting these unknown things in his heart. He knew that he didn't have any weapons in his hands. He was not Yang Ming's opponent in a one-on-one fight, and it was even more impossible to escape. Although the weather at the moment was very cold, beads of sweat rolled down from Thomas's forehead. He didn't want to die, but he also understood that Yang Ming would never let him go. Just like how Yang Ming wouldn't let him go if he fell into Thomas's hands, he wouldn't let him go either. Don't kill my grandfather. I can exchange a secret with you. Suddenly, a loud shout broke the previous tense atmosphere. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Where there's life, there's hope. With you here, the Lancer family will rise again sooner or later. How can you foolishly come here to die? Thomas was shocked when he heard this voice. He didn't care if Yang Ming would kill him immediately and yelled at the person. Grandfather, I also agreed to deal with the Butterfly family in the beginning. This idea was mostly my idea, so I can't stay out of it. Said resolutely, Mr. Yang Ming, I can give you a secret about Central, and I can also tell you why Uncle Jetson is so powerful. However, in exchange, you have to let my grandfather and the people of the Lancer family go. Oh. Yang Ming looked at the former first successor of the Lancer family's family master with interest. He snorted in his heart. This kid is a talent, and he is also a ruthless character. How strong is Yang Ming's vigilance? How can he not notice witch approaching here? It's just that Yang Ming didn't pay attention to him. He wanted to see what this kid was doing sneakily approaching here. In fact, Witch had already come here when he was fighting with the Lancer family's guards, but he didn't make a sound and hid in the dark. However, this kid had a gun in his hand and seemed to be waiting for an opportunity to aim at Yang Ming. After Yang Ming killed a team of people in an instant, Witch wisely chose to put down the gun in his hand. Although Yang Ming didn't ask about these things, he knew clearly under the surveillance of Yang Ming's special ability. At that time, Yang Ming felt that this kid, Witch, was not a simple character. He could actually make a decisive decision in an instant. After knowing that if he missed the shot, it might cause a lot of consequences, so he gave up the weapon in his hand and quietly observed the movement here. Since he didn't make a sound, Yang Ming didn't bother with him. Anyway, after dealing with Kevathan and Thomas, Yang Ming would still catch him. It's just that I didn't expect this kid to be Thomas's grandson. In the beginning, Yang Ming was still wondering. Since this kid knows some secret, why didn't he stand up before I killed Kevathan? But after thinking about it carefully, Yang Ming understood the key. Didn't this kid want to use my hand to kill Kevathan? Chapter 1493. Originally, the first successor of the family master was Witch, but now it had become Kevathan. It was impossible to say that Witch had no resentment in his heart. He didn't show it before because Kevathan had a strong backer, his cousin. Now that Jetson was dead, Witch's heart became active. He would use others to kill Kevathan, and then pretend that he had just arrived to tell Yang Ming that there was a secret. This kid has a good idea. Yang Ming narrowed his eyes and looked at Witch, who was walking in front of him. After using me as a tool, he still pretends to give me a big benefit. He's really not a good person. Yang Ming had secretly made up his mind. This kid is more dangerous than his grandfather. If I keep him, he will definitely become a big problem for me in the future. Yang Ming shook his head. If Witch wasn't so conceited, his secret would definitely attract Yang Ming. Previously, he would have evacuated with some of the Lancer family's elites overnight and found a secret place to recuperate. Maybe Yang Ming really didn't have the time to look for them. He also wouldn't have thought that Witch was so scheming. It was not impossible to let him go. As long as he didn't take the initiative to look for Yang Ming wouldn't bother with him. But now, since Yang Ming had discovered that this person was not simple, how could he let him go? As for the Central's matter and why Jetson was so powerful, Yang Ming already had a general understanding of it without Witch's explanation. Yang Ming didn't believe that Witch would know more. Perhaps he just found some clues occasionally, but thought that he had discovered something great and wanted to exchange conditions with Yang Ming. You know the Central's secret? You also know Jetson's secret? Yang Ming looked at Witch and asked faintly. There was no sense of fanaticism in his desire to know. Yang Ming's attitude made Witch a little nervous. He originally thought that as long as he spoke, Yang Ming would eventually agree to his conditions. After all, Yang Ming had provoked the Central. If he waited until this time to know more about the Central and Jetson, it would also be a form of support. In the future, he would be invincible in a face-to-face confrontation with the Central. However, after a moment of nervousness, Witch calmed down. In his opinion, Yang Ming's expression at this moment was just pretending to be calm. He asked himself if he was Yang Ming, he would definitely not let go of this news at this moment. Yes, Mr. Yang Ming. What do you think? I believe that Mr. Yang Ming is also a person of his word. After making a promise, you will comply. Witch deliberately raised Yang Ming's identity, fearing that Yang Ming would go back on his word after knowing the news. How do I know if what you said is useful to me? Why don't you tell me about the Central first, and I will judge the value of the news. If it is really useful, I will let you go. Yang Ming sneered in his heart, but he said calmly on the surface, If it is useless to me or something I already know, then don't say it. It is meaningless to say it. Okay. I believe that Mr. Yang will not go back on his word. I will talk about the central first. In Witch's opinion, it didn't matter if he talked about the central first. He wasn't going to say the most important secret about Jetson directly, but that was the most shocking news. Go ahead, I'll listen. Yang Ming nodded and stood there with an unfathomable look. The Central is a mysterious organization in Europe. It is not affiliated with any country or official leader. It is somewhat like an organization of a society. Which said, in the Central, there is a group of scientific freaks doing some experiments and scientific and technological research that are beyond the times. This organization is very mysterious. It is said that it is a terrorist organization, but it is not because many large families and small countries have tacitly agreed to its existence. They even ask the Central for something. Therefore, the Central can be said to be a transcendent existence, but no one knows what the ultimate purpose of this organization is. They have developed many epic-making high-tech products, but they have never put them into the market. Of course, this is just hearsay. No one knows the real situation. Only the Central itself knows. Yang Ming nodded secretly. No wonder they can create a super powerful robot like Jetson. This Central doesn't seem to be a simple organization. I don't know if I'm too lucky or too miserable to be an enemy of such a place. However, Yang Ming wasn't afraid of anything. He didn't care if it was the Central or not. As long as he dealt with all the trouble that came to him, then sorry, you can continue to open the Central in the underworld. Earth can no longer allow you to exist. It wasn't that Yang Ming was arrogant, but Yang Ming had an unyielding belief that one day, he would truly stand at the peak of the world. Many years ago, Uncle Jetson was a dying patient who was about to die. Dr. Benjamin from the Central found Jetson and took him away. However, when Uncle Jetson came back again, he had become such a powerful existence. Witch paused at this point, and then said, "How is it? My news is good, right? Mr. Yang Ming, do you want to know how Uncle Jetson changed from a dying person to what he is now? Do you want to know the biggest secret? This is your so-called big secret?" A hint of mockery flashed in Yang Ming's eyes. You want to use this news in exchange for your lives. What Yang Ming wanted to know was just the Central's news. However, although what Witch said was somewhat useful to Yang Ming, since Witch knew about these things, Yang Ming believed that old Buffon would know too. So, what he said was basically equivalent to not saying anything. However, the most important sentence that Witch said was that Jetson was seriously ill a few years ago and was taken away by Dr. Benjamin. This was a piece of information that Yang Ming couldn't investigate. As for the big secret that Witch wanted to say next, Yang Ming already knew about it. There was no need for him to say it at all. Yang Ming had already found out the previous words, so this which had no value. Although Yang Ming was a thick-skinned and shameless person who often did things that went back on his words, his face was not red and his heart was not beating fast. He could promise Witch first and wait for Witch to finish before killing them, but it was also good to pretend to be a gentleman at this moment. Isn't Mr. Yang Ming curious? Witch was slightly taken aback. His previous words were to pave the way and whet Yang Ming's appetite. He didn't expect that Yang Ming wouldn't take the bait. Even if Yang Ming didn't let him talk about the Central's matters before, he would definitely say it, which would lead to Jetson's matter. However, he didn't expect that Yang Ming was still indifferent after Witch spent a long time talking. Curious? Why should I be curious? Yang Ming curled his lips. I know all these things you said. They are worthless at all. You know all of them. That's impossible. Witch didn't believe it, but he seemed to understand something in an instant. His face turned red and he said angrily, Yang Ming, do you want to go back on your words after listening to my explanation of the Central? Do you think the Central's matters are important? Let me tell you, Jetson's secret is the biggest. If you don't know, you will regret it. When the time comes, Central will send a team of people like Cousin Jetson, but you don't know their origins. Then, just wait for death. I don't believe you can kill a pair of people. Go back on my words. Yang Ming chuckled. Well, then I'll tell you what I know. See if I'm right. Is it your so-called big secret? Which was taken aback. He didn't expect Yang Ming to say this. He said with some surprise, what do you know? Chapter 1494. Jetson, it's actually a robot, a modified robot. This is what you want to tell me, right? Yang Ming smiled slightly as if he was talking about a very normal thing. The inside of his body is all made of machinery, so it can be said that the current Jetson can no longer be called a normal person. It should be said that he is a robot. This is also the reason why he is so lively after so many years despite being critically ill. How did you know? Witch's face suddenly showed an expression of surprise and disbelief. He thought that he had discovered this matter by himself. How could Yang Ming know? This secret was discovered by Witch by accident. It was Jetson's first night in the Lancer family. Witch was very depressed in his heart. He knew that Kevithan would sit firmly on the family master's throne after having a powerful backer like Jetson, and he would have no chance to do so. The original position of the family master would fall on his head in a few years, but now it seemed that it had become a bubble. How could Witch not be depressed? Therefore, Witch didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in a remote corner of the manor, quietly looking at the night sky, recalling what had happened to him in the past few years. The joy of being established as the family master's heir, the cultivation of his grandfather over the years, and the high spirits he had when he saw good in trouble and made things difficult for the butterfly family. A series of things kept flashing in his mind like a movie. Witch really had the urge to cry. His great future was actually ruined by such a thing. It was not entirely true that he blamed Good. If he hadn't tried his best to help Good in the beginning and used such a bad move to make things difficult for the butterfly family, would there be a series of things that happened later? He could only blame himself for meddling in other people's business. If he had stopped it in front of his grandfather, he probably wouldn't have ended up like this. But who could he blame? To put it bluntly, Witch wanted to help Good because he wanted to show off his awesome strength and get a sense of being worshipped high above others. But just for this momentary feeling, he lost the position of the family master. It was really sad. However, just as Witch was complaining, footsteps suddenly came from the courtyard. Witch was shocked. He didn't want others to see him in such a down-and-out state, so he quickly hid in the grass at the side and didn't dare to breathe. If the family Slade or Leckroft saw this, they might laugh at him. Witch didn't want to become the object of ridicule, so he only waited for the footsteps to go away before coming out. Just as the Orange Bureau held their breath, they heard a strange sound coming into their ears. How many years have I not laid in bed at night? I haven't slept. I'm really not used to it. These strange words suddenly made Witch a little inexplicable. Through the faint moonlight, Witch suddenly discovered that the person speaking not far away was actually Uncle Jetson. Seeing that it was someone from Kevithan's family, Witch didn't dare to breathe loudly. Although he wondered what Jetson meant, he didn't want to ask. After all, he was now crying sadly. It would be embarrassing if he was seen by others. However, this body is really good. Dr. Benjamin is really amazing. He actually replaced all the internal organs in my body with sophisticated electronic components, but he can still maintain my previous memory and let me have independent thoughts. It's incredible. Jetson sighed again and said to himself, I didn't expect that with such an opportunity, I would become Superman in Kevithan's eyes when I see him again. Witch suddenly opened his mouth wide after hearing Jetson's words. He didn't expect that Jetson's true identity was actually a robot, not a normal person. It wasn't strange for the association to hear Grandpa Thomas say that Jetson could smash a marble conference table with one hand during the day. And Jetson seemed to have become the existence of the Terminator in the movies. This made Witch shocked and scared, and he didn't dare to make a sound. He was afraid that Jetson would kill him without hesitation after he knew Jetson's secret. After waiting for a while, he finally heard the sound of Jetson's footsteps leaving and is muttering to himself, "I'd better go back and pretend to sleep. Although I'm not used to it, I don't want the Lancer family to find any clues." Since knowing Jetson's true identity, which had also become indifferent to the position of the family master, he was not as eager as before because he already understood that with the support of a powerful backer like Jetson, it was impossible for him to be promoted. He was not a robot's opponent. Which naturally didn't dare to say Jetson's secret. Who knew what Jetson would do to him after this secret was spread? However, now that Jetson was dead, Which wanted to use this secret to threaten Yang Ming to achieve the purpose of the exchange. He originally thought that such a thing was in the bag, but Yang Ming's words disrupted his plan. Yang Ming knew. Yang Ming actually knew that Jetson was a robot, and the information from Witch's mouth became useless. This made Witch extremely frustrated, but he also understood that Yang Ming was not lying to him, but really knew Jetson's secret. "Since you know, why can't I know?" Yang Ming curled his lips and said lightly, "What you said before about Central is not a secret at all. The big families in the upper-class society basically know about it. Do you think I don't know? I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about Jetson's secret." Which didn't expect that what Yang Ming really didn't know was indeed Central's secret. Jetson's secret. He jumped into the burning pool himself, and then his outer appearance melted away. The internal machine was naturally exposed, and he turned into a pool of molten iron in a while. "I saw it with my own eyes. What's so difficult to know?" Yang Ming shrugged and said naturally. Of course, this was Yang Ming's casual words. Yang Ming couldn't tell Witch that he saw it with his special ability. Even if Witch was a dying person, Yang Ming didn't intend to tell his secret to this person. "It turns out to be like this." Witch sighed and said bitterly, "It seems that my news is a step too late and has become useless news. It's good that you know." Although Yang Ming felt that Witch was a courageous and knowledgeable talent, he couldn't be kept because he was a talent. So, he said, "Okay, I should send you on your way. If you have a chance in your next life, reincarnate into an ordinary small family. This kind of big family is not good for you." Witch's face showed a complicated look. He knew that he couldn't escape, so he calmed down. "I didn't expect you to be such an anomaly. No wonder even the Buffon family suddenly befriended the Butterfly family. You should be the one who contacted them, right?" "Yes." Yang Ming didn't hide anything in the face of Witch's questioning. Hee, so that's the case. No wonder, no wonder. Witch said a few, "no wonder," in a row. Sure enough, the people of our Lancer family are not observant and arrogant to a certain extent. We should have thought of it earlier. If such a proud family like the Buffon family could condescend to befriend the Butterfly family, there must be a more powerful person in the middle. However, all of us neglected this point. It's not a loss to lose to you. Thomas looked at his grandson, who had a determined look on his face, and his expression was gloomy. Why didn't we think of such a simple truth in the beginning? If we had thought of it earlier, wouldn't we have avoided a disaster? Yang Ming, you can do it, but I beg you to give me a quick death. Don't torture us, grandfather and grandson. Thomas was calm in a hopeless situation. Chapter 1495. Yang Ming looked at the corpses of Thomas and Witch on the ground in front of him and sighed faintly. If I knew this would happen, why did I do it in the first place? Yang Ming didn't torture Thomas and Witch, but he really gave them a quick death. These two people actually didn't do anything wrong. It was human nature to avenge their grandson and cousin. It was just that they chose the wrong target for revenge. In fact, it was nothing. This was the law of the jungle. If it weren't for Yang Ming's appearance, the butterfly family would have been at the mercy of the Lancer family. It was just that their standpoints were different and their thoughts were different. Everything Yang Ming did here was done almost silently. These people did not even have a chance to shoot, so it did not alarm the other members of the Lancer family. Yang Ming had already used his special ability to check. The important figures of the Lancer family were now gathered in the Lancer family's banquet hall, waiting to celebrate Jetson's achievement. As for Good's death, although everyone knew about it, Slade and Leckroft did not show any abnormality at all. This person had nothing to do with them, so it was fine if he died. Anyway, they had sent someone to inform the old guy, Thomas. How he dealt with it was none of their business. Since they were all sitting together, it saved Yang Ming the trouble of looking for them separately. It saved a lot of trouble. Yang Ming's figure quickly rushed to a warehouse in the Lancer family's manor. Yang Ming had already probed with his special ability when he was in the warehouse. This warehouse was an arsenal that stored a large number of firearms, and Yang Ming's target this time was here. Who? Around the arsenal, several Lancer family members who were guarding the door did not even have time to react. They just asked the word "hoot" before they fell to the ground one after another. Their eyes rolled back, and they were obviously dead. Yang Ming knew that it was not the time to be soft-hearted at this moment. This was the enemy's territory. If he was kind, he might ruin the big plan. Yang Ming opened the door of the arsenal easily with the lily key and destroyed several infrared alarms and monitoring devices. Then, he went straight to the second floor of the arsenal. Yang Ming already knew what was on each floor of the arsenal, so there was no need for him to search through them one by one. On the second floor of the arsenal, Yang Ming took out a rocket launcher and quickly left the arsenal. Looking at the luxuriously decorated and magnificent restaurant not far away, Yang Ming sneered and directly fired a rocket launcher. The originally beautiful restaurant instantly turned into a pile of rubble. As for the people inside, they would have been crushed to death if they weren't as strong as Jetson. However, Yang Ming still carefully probed the gravel pile with his special ability, and only then did he show a satisfied smile. All the backbone forces of the Lancer family were gathered in the dining room at this moment. They were all turned into ghosts under the gravel by Yang Ming's cannon. Throwing away the rocket launcher in his hand, Yang Ming didn't stop at all and ran to the place where Wang Songshan was imprisoned. The Lancer family's arsenal was complete. Otherwise, Yang Ming might have to go to the dining room and kill them one by one. Now that such a big commotion had happened, although all the direct descendants of the Lancer family were dead, there were still some servants and collateral descendants. These people had also heard the explosion at this time. Yang Ming was afraid of encountering trouble later, so he rushed to the place where Wang Songshan was imprisoned without stopping for a moment. Yang Ming still easily opened the door of the attic with the lily key. He quickly ran to a room on the second floor. Yang Ming had already probed and determined Wang Songshan's location, so he didn't need to search one by one at this moment. He directly came to the door of his destination and opened the door with the lily key. At this moment, Wang Songshan also heard the explosion outside, but because his hands and feet were bound by the iron chains, he couldn't go to the window to take a closer look. Although he was puzzled, he couldn't do anything. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the door opening, and Wang Songshan suddenly became vigilant. Did something big happen to the Lancer family? And at this time, someone opened my door. What could it be? Wang Songshan subconsciously felt that it wouldn't be a good thing. After all, nothing good had ever happened to him in the Lancer family. Uncle Wang. Yang Ming quickly opened the door and strode in. The familiar voice made Wang Songshan's nervous heart suddenly relax. Yang Ming. Why are you here? Wang Songshan's eyes were filled with unspeakable joy. Originally, he thought that if he didn't agree to the Lancer family's marriage proposal, he might not be able to get out of here for the rest of his life. He might even be killed after the Lancer family lost their patience. Therefore, Wang Songshan was even prepared to die. After all, in this environment, it was worth it to live one more day. He didn't want to bring any trouble to Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming. Naturally, he couldn't destroy his daughter's lifelong happiness in order to survive. But he didn't expect that Yang Ming's breaking in would reignite Wang Songshan's hope of survival. Of course I'm here to save you, Uncle Wang. Let's leave here first. The Lancer family is probably going to be in chaos. Yang Ming said this, but his hands were not idle. He quickly used the lily key to open the chains on Wang Songshan's hands and feet. Then, he quickly used the massage technique to knead the bruised area a few times. Wang Songshan was also an assassin. Naturally, he knew what Yang Ming was doing. He looked at Yang Ming with kind and grateful eyes. Wang Songshan secretly said that he didn't misjudge Yang Ming. The key was that Yan Yan didn't misjudge Yang Ming. Yang Ming actually risked his life to come to the Lancer family to save him. This was enough to show Yang Ming's intentions. Even if the rescue was unsuccessful, Wang Songshan wouldn't blame him. Uncle Wang, move a little and see how it is. If you can walk, let's go quickly. Don't delay. Yang Ming stopped the massage and stood up. I have no more questions. Let's go. Wang Songshan was not a delicate person. He stood up. Although there was still some pain in his ankle, Wang Songshan didn't care. He quickly followed Yang Ming out of the room and out of the attic. Uncle Wang, just follow me. Yang Ming said as he ran along a road. This was an escape route he had found when he entered the Lancer family manor. He could leave this place in the shortest time possible. Yang Ming, did you make that explosion? Although Wang Songshan asked Yang Ming a question, his footsteps were not slow at all. He followed closely behind Yang Ming. And I made it. Yang Ming did not deny it and said truthfully. It turns out to be a diversion, but we still need to be careful. I have fought with Jetson before. He is simply not a normal person. He is invulnerable no matter how you fight him. It will be troublesome if you meet him. Wang Songshan nodded, then reminded them. Don't worry. Jetson. Yang Ming was slightly stunned and knew that Wang Songshan had misunderstood. He thought that Yang Ming had first created an explosion to attract the attention of everyone in the Lancer family, and then ran over to release him using a diversion. Yeah, you are lucky that you didn't meet him. If I had known that you would take the risk to come here, I would have stopped you no matter what. Although Wang Songshan was very gratified that Yang Ming could come forward to save him, he still didn't want Yang Ming to take the risk. After all, Wang Xiaoyan had already lost her father. Losing her lover would be a huge blow to her. So it was reasonable to say that Wang Songshan didn't want Yang Ming to take the risk no matter what. Anyway, I'm not young anymore. It doesn't matter if I die. As long as Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming are happy in the future, it will be fine. Uncle Wang, you misunderstood. Jetson has been killed by me. Yang Ming explained with a dumbfounded expression. Oh, Jetson was killed by you. Wang Songshan was suddenly stunned when he said this. A horrified expression suddenly appeared on his face. You, what did you say? Jetson was killed by you. Yeah. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. This guy is the most difficult one to deal with. If I didn't get rid of him, do you think he would have let me open the door and let you out? When I came, He was sitting in the courtyard in front of the attic. Jetson, is he really dead? Was he killed by you? It was not that Wang Songshan didn't believe Yang Ming, but this matter was too shocking. Wang Songshan was clear about Jetson's strength. This powerful character who had beaten him to the point where he couldn't even escape actually died in Yang Ming's hands. Chapter 1496. Of course, I won't let go of such a troublesome guy if I can kill him. Yang Ming laughed, but he sighed in his heart. Although this problem has been solved, I'm afraid that I have provoked another big problem. That is, the force behind Jetson, called Central. I have never heard of this force, but I'm afraid it's not simple. This could be seen from their means of creating a Terminator-like humanoid robot like Jetson. Yang Ming didn't believe that such an organization didn't have any ulterior motives. Since he had killed one of their robots, it would be strange if they didn't hate Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't believe that such a robot could be made casually. Even if Central was strong, it would have to invest a lot of manpower and financial resources. Otherwise, if this kind of robot could be easily made, Central wouldn't be so low-key for a long time. Of course, Yang Ming didn't intend to tell Wang Songshan these words. It would only increase Wang Songshan's worries. Moreover, Yang Ming wasn't sure whether Central would know about this matter. After all the parties who knew about this matter had been killed by Yang Ming. The rest were his own people. Wang Songshan couldn't publicize this everywhere, so it was still uncertain whether Central could find out about Yang Ming. Little friend Yang Ming, it seems that I really misjudged you. You are much more powerful than that old guy Fang Tian. Wang Songshan took a deep breath and said from the bottom of his heart. He finally understood that Yang Ming was not talking nonsense. He had really killed Jetson. Uncle Wang, you must be joking. My martial arts were all taught by my master. What's more, I also benefited a lot from the butterfly family's training. Yang Ming laughed. Since Wang Songshan was Yang Ming's father-in-law, Yang Ming didn't need to put on airs in front of him. He smiled very amiably. Yang Ming understood the principle of people supporting each other, so he naturally didn't offend either side. The student has surpassed the master. Wang Songshan sighed, but said strangely, by the way, since Jetson has been killed, why did little friend Yang Ming still cause an explosion? Isn't this superfluous? Instead, it attracted the attention of others. Uncle Wang, just call me Yang Ming. I'm a little embarrassed to call you little friend Yang Ming. Yang Ming said with a smile, my parents call me Big Ming. You can call me that too. Hee, then I'll call you Big Ming in the future. Speaking of it, I'm also your elder. Wang Songshan nodded and admitted it calmly, and you, don't call me Uncle Wang in the future. How can that be? Yang Ming said cheerfully, then I will call you father-in-law in the future. What do you mean by Big Ming? Wang Songshan waved his hand and said, okay, let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about your explosion first. Explosion, hee. It just killed all the direct descendants of the Lancer family. Yang Ming said faintly, if you don't eliminate the roots, do you want to leave them to grow up and take revenge in the future? All of them. What do you mean? Did Thomas and Kevithan also die? Wang Songshan was shocked. He didn't expect Yang Ming's explosion to kill the people of the Lancer family. Thomas and Kevithan, as well as Thomas's grandson Witch and his grandson Good, were personally killed by me. Yang Ming said as if he was talking about a very normal thing. As for the others, I got a rocket launcher from their family's arsenal and killed them with one shot. What? They're all dead. Wang Songshan was the family master of the butterfly family and also a super cold-blooded assassin. However, he couldn't help but be moved when he heard that Yang Ming had actually exterminated the Lancer family. Looking at Yang Ming's calm and amiable appearance, he thought of Yang Ming's embarrassment and shyness when Wang Ruoshui challenged him a few days ago. He didn't expect him to be such a decisive person. The Lancer family was really unlucky to be his enemy. Father-in-law, you and I are both assassins. Although we are not afraid of some official forces coming to find trouble, it is better not to leave any evidence for this kind of thing. They are all dead. Even if others suspect, they can't do anything to us. Yang Ming said cautiously, in any case, the Lancer family is also a big family. So many people died in an instant. If the backbone was still there, they would definitely fight to the death with us. But now that their direct forces have been wiped out, who will stick up for an empty shell family? Yang Ming said cautiously. What you said makes sense. Wang Songshan nodded and finally understood why Yang Ming was so cruel. He was also afraid that the butterfly family would find trouble with them in the future. However, I am a little puzzled that their direct forces actually all ran together and waited to be killed by your cannon. This is a bit strange. Are these people all fools? Hee hee. Yang Ming smiled slightly after hearing Wang Songshan's question and said, it's a coincidence. This Jetson is very arrogant. Before I came here to save you, he got the news that I was coming. Then, he spread the news that the Lancer family should prepare a celebration banquet in advance. After successfully killing me, we will celebrate. He got the news that you were coming. Did you release the news in advance before you came? Wang Songshan was slightly stunned. If this is the case, then it is not Jetson who is arrogant, but Yang Ming who is arrogant. Although the final winner is Yang Ming, it is a bit too dangerous to do so. How could it be? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. There are some spies planted by the Douglas family in our butterfly family. My news was probably passed to the Douglas family from these people, and then passed to the Lancer family through the Douglas family. So that's how it is. Wang Songshan nodded in realization, I know this. There are some people from the Douglas family in the family. I didn't think it was a big problem before, so I didn't get rid of them. When I go back this time, I must get rid of these people. Otherwise, they may spoil things at a critical moment. There is no need to worry about this. The Douglas family, who has lost the backing of the Lancer family, is no longer a threat. I think you don't need to do it yourself when you go back this time. The Douglas family will send someone to pick these people up. Yang Ming said with a smile, although they have no evidence to prove that we did this, as long as they are not fools, they should be well aware of it. Wang Songshan nodded and agreed with Yang Ming's words. As for the celebration banquet, Kevithan gathered all the bloodlines of the Lancer family in the banquet hall in order to show his importance to Jetson. Therefore, I saved the trouble of not having to look for them one by one. I solved the problem with one shot. Yang Ming seemed to be talking about a very funny thing. As for Thomas, Kevithan, and Witch, they were killed by me when they brought people to greet Jetson. This is also God's will. The once glorious Lancer family has disappeared just like that. After a few years, who can still remember this family? Wang Songshan said with some emotion, things are unpredictable, but there is a cause and effect. While the two were talking, they had quickly left the Lancer family's manor and entered the town. After a while, the siren of a police car came from a distance. It seemed that the Lancer family's servants had found that something was wrong, and someone had called the police. However, this had nothing to do with Yang Ming. It was believed that even if the local police suspected the butterfly family in the end, they would eventually give up. Not to mention that old Buffon would also put pressure on them. Who would go against the Buffon family who was in the limelight? Yang Ming took an off-road vehicle parked near the town and quickly left the town with Wang Songshan, disappearing into the night. Chapter 1497. LoveLore Town, Butterfly Family. Since Yang Ming left, everyone had fallen into a faint sorrowful atmosphere. When Wang Songshan left, everyone was still as usual, but this time it was different because Wang Songshan was already certain to be trapped in the Lancer family, and Yang Ming was going to rescue him. Fang Tian, Wang Ruoshui, and Butler Mu were still sitting in the conference room, but now Wang Xiaoyan was there. They had asked the servants in the family to send them lunch and dinner. They just ate a few mouthfuls, and no one was in the mood to eat. Fang Tian and Wang Xiaoyan knew Yang Ming's strength very well. Although they were more confident in Yang Ming, they were not very confident. After all, Yang Ming had been captured. How good could Yang Ming be? Although Wang Xiaoyan was worried about her father's safety, she also didn't want anything to happen to Yang Ming. She didn't want Yang Ming to go, but Yang Ming had already made up his mind. She could only silently pray that Yang Ming could return safely. Yan Yan, we have all eaten something, but you haven't eaten anything since noon. This won't do. Don't starve your body. Wang Ruoshui looked at her niece worriedly and advised. I'm not hungry. Wang Xiaoyan forced a smile and said, you guys eat. I can't eat anything without news from him, Wang Ruoshui sighed and stopped persuading. In fact, she didn't have deep feelings for Yang Ming, but she also became worried when she saw the worried looks of Fang Tian and Wang Xiaoyan. Wang Ruoshui knew very well that this was the proud disciple of her lover, Fang Tian, and her niece's ideal husband. If something happened to Yang Ming, these two people would definitely not be happy. Therefore, Wang Ruoshui also thought about Yang Ming for these two people. Butler Mu's thoughts were similar to Wang Ruoshui's. He was more concerned about Yang Ming's safety, but for the miss, Butler Mu still hoped that Yang Ming could be safe. Is there still no news? Butler Mu pressed a call button on the intercom and asked the disciple on duty who was responsible for intelligence. Not yet. The disciple on duty said, our people are already guarding the road near LoveLore Town. As soon as the young master's car arrives, we will immediately report to you. Butler Mu sighed. The Butterfly family did not arrange anyone in the Lancer family's forces, so it was almost impossible to get information at this time. They could only wait at the road junction. Let's wait a little longer. Butler Mu smiled at the disappointed Wang Xiaoyan and said, let's watch TV for a while to relieve our tension. What's so interesting about TV? Wang Xiaoyan shook her head, indicating that she wasn't interested. Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui were also indifferent. Obviously, they had no interest in this. However, in order to adjust the current tense atmosphere, Butler Mu turned on the TV. A TV series was playing on it, but obviously, no one was in the mood to watch it. Next, we have important news. There was a major explosion at the Lancer family in Wadding Town tonight, causing many deaths. The specific number of deaths and the cause of the explosion are pending investigation, Lancer family. Everyone in the conference room immediately became spirited when they heard the words Lancer family. They all looked at the TV at the same time. When they heard that there was an explosion at the Lancer family, they were all shocked. Because everyone was not stupid, they subconsciously thought that this explosion must be related to Yang Ming. They just didn't know if Yang Ming and Wang Songshan were safe under such a major explosion. Yang Ming made a move. I don't know if he rescued old man Wang and successfully escaped from that place. Fang Tian's eyes stared at the TV screen, hoping to see some clues from it. I hope that Yang Ming can return safely, said Wang Ruoshui. Dang dang dang. There was a rush of knocking at the door of the conference room, interrupting everyone's discussion. Butler Mu frowned. Who would knock on the door at this time? Even if the disciples and servants in the sect had something to do, they would use the intercom system to report first. They would not knock on the door so hastily. Who is it? Asked Butler Mu. It's me, old Buffon. There is important news. Open the door quickly. Old Buffon's voice came from outside the door, seemingly with some excitement. Hearing old Buffon's voice, Butler Moo's furrowed brows slowly relaxed. He stood up and opened the door of the conference room. Old Buffon immediately rushed in. There is good news. What? Everyone was stunned, then looked at old Buffon expectantly without blinking. Everyone knew that although old Buffon did not come to the conference room after Yang Ming left, he had been paying attention to Yang Ming's safety in private. He kept answering the phone in the living room. Wang Xiaoyan knew that he was also worried about Yang Ming, so she asked him to come to the conference room to wait for the news together. However, old Buffon refused Wang Xiaoyan's kindness because he felt that the people of the butterfly family might say something taboo. It was not very convenient for an outsider like him to be next to them. Wang Xiaoyan was very pleased with old Buffon's attitude. She felt that Yang Ming really did not accept this apprentice for nothing. Judging from his caring attitude towards Yang Ming, he should really respect and worry about Yang Ming. Old Buffon, what's the good news? Wang Xiaoyan knew that old Buffon was not a person who would speak without thinking, so she was the first to calm down and ask. Master's wife, Grandmaster. Old Buffon greeted everyone in the room one by one, then said, Master's wife, I have received the exact news from the Waddingtown police station. There are no unfamiliar bodies found in the Lancer family, so, in other words, Yang Ming and father are safe and sound. Wang Xiaoyan immediately realized something after listening to old Buffon's words. There was a look of excitement and joy in her eyes. Hee, it should be like this. Old Buffon said with a smile, Master's wife, my master is too awesome. He actually annihilated the Lancer family. The police of Waddingtown have confirmed the identities of the deceased. All of them are members of the Lancer family, including their family master, Kevathan, Elder Thomas, Slade, Leckroft, and a group of family juniors. None of them were left alive. All of them are dead, haha. What? All of them are dead. Wang Xiaoyan raised her head in amazement and looked at old Buffon incredulously. It seemed that she could not believe this fact. Annihilation. Fang Tian almost sat on the ground. He was very clear about Yang Ming's strength. Although he was not worse than Wang Songshan, he should not be stronger than Wang Songshan. However, Yang Ming actually annihilated the Lancer family when he made a move. Isn't this too shocking? Yeah, he is indeed my master. He is even more awesome than Master Wang. The Lancer family has been annihilated. Old Buffon was proficient in Chinese and spoke Chinese very well. He kept using the new word awesome after learning it. Since Yang Ming and Wang Songshan were not among the Lancer family's corpses and the family was annihilated, it was 100% certain that it was done by Yang Ming. Moreover, Yang Ming and Wang Songshan had escaped safely. Everyone was relieved, but they looked at each other. Indeed, as old Buffon said, Yang Ming was really awesome. He was really a super fierce person. He directly annihilated the entire family. However, the people present were all assassins. They had no sympathy for the death of the Lancer family. This was the unspoken rule of the law of the jungle. Since you have the ability to find trouble, you must also be mentally prepared to be found and sent back. Isn't this matter a bit too big? After the excitement, Butler Moo regained his calmness. Although it is impossible for Yang Ming and the family master to leave any evidence, the grudge between the Butterfly family and the Lancer family is known to everyone in the upper class. I'm afraid that the police will suspect us sooner or later, right? Butler Moo's words immediately made the people in the conference room fall into contemplation. Indeed, although the Butterfly family was an assassin family and was above the local law, the matter this time was too big. They did not kill one or two people, but annihilated an entire family. If the other families were to collectively pressure the police, then the butterfly family would not have an easy time. What is there to worry about? After old Buffon listened to Butler Moo's words, he smiled slightly and said, "Please rest assured. I have already informed the police. This matter has been determined as an accident. No one will find trouble with Master and the butterfly family." Chapter 1498. A matter that was very difficult to settle in everyone's eyes was easily solved by old Buffon. It was imaginable how much influence old Buffon had in the local area. Fong Tian couldn't help but be moved. This seemingly ordinary disciple that Yang Ming accepted was actually so dedicated. Fong Tian secretly thought that Yang Ming's luck was good. Although I haven't gotten specific news of Yang Ming and my brother, I heard the news from Mr. Old Buffon that they have left safely. Should we prepare to hold a celebration banquet to celebrate the little hero's triumphant return? Wang Ruoxue was relieved when she heard that Yang Ming and her brother were fine. She looked at the people who were still sitting in the conference room and suggested, "This is a good idea." Butler Moo nodded in agreement. "It's just that Yang Ming and the family master haven't contacted the family yet. I feel a little uneasy." Wang Xiaoyan also thought so after hearing it. After all, they could only be sure that Yang Ming was really fine after they had the exact news. Everything they saw now was just for show. On the way, Wang Songshan couldn't help but call home with excitement in his heart. Someone picked up the phone as soon as it was connected. "Hello. Is this the family master?" Butler Moo was worried about not having the exact news of Wang Songshan and Yang Ming when Wang Songshan's phone call came in. "Butler Moo, Yang Ming and I are fine. We are on the way back. Prepare some delicious food for us. I haven't eaten well for a few days." Wang Songshan ordered in a relaxed manner. "Okay, family master. I will order the servants to prepare. It's great to get the news of your safe return." Butler Moo's expression swept away the previous haze and said happily, "Is Yang Ming okay?" Wang Xiaoyan couldn't hear the voice on the phone. She only heard Butler Moo's words. This call was from her father, but he was fine. However, there was no news of Yang Ming. Wang Xiaoyan was naturally anxious. Yen Yen, you answer the call. I'll tell the servants to prepare wine and dishes to welcome the return of the patriarch." Seeing Wang Xiaoyan's anxious look, Butler Moo smiled slightly and handed the phone in his hand to Wang Xiaoyan. "Hello, Dad. How are you?" Wang Xiaoyan took the phone. She was too embarrassed to ask about Yang Ming's safety directly. Although she knew that her father must be fine, she still asked with concern. "Me? Of course." Wang Songshan smiled mischievously. "Yen Yen, why are you concerned about Dad? I just heard that you were only concerned about Yang Ming's safety." Wang Xiaoyan didn't expect her father to hear what she said just now. She immediately blushed and said, "Don't I know you're fine? That's why I asked Yang Ming." "Yang Ming, he is driving. He is very good." Wang Songshan smiled and said, "Why don't you talk to him?" "That's not necessary. Let's talk about it when he comes back." Hearing that Yang Ming was driving, Wang Xiaoyan didn't say anything more. After all, safety was the first priority at this time. Shortly after hanging up the phone, a disciple on duty of the butterfly family came to report that the Douglas family had come. "The Douglas family is here." Butler Moo listened to the disciple's report and was slightly stunned. Why are they here? Perhaps they have also received news from the Lancer family and came to express goodwill. Fong Tian chuckled and said, "Although good is dead, the other party will definitely not come to denounce us if they are not stupid." "That's true. Butler Moo agreed. Then let's invite the Douglas family in. I'd like to see what they are here for. In the reception hall of the Butterfly Castle, a man in his 50s wearing a black suit was sitting respectfully on the sofa. When he saw Butler Moo and the others come in, he quickly stood up. Butler Moo. After speaking, he locked his eyes on Wang Ruoxue. This has always been the sister of the Wang family master, right? Wang Ruoxue nodded slightly and didn't reply. Instead, she sat aside. Butler Moo recognized the identity of the person who came, Elder Gerner. May I know what business you have with us at this time? Gerner was the chief elder of the Douglas family and the brother of the current family master. After the Lancer family was destroyed, the Douglas family received the news immediately. Because the Douglas family and the Lancer family were in-laws, there were several good servants in the Lancer family. After the Lancer family's incident, the Douglas family also received the news of Good's death. This made the family master of the Douglas family furious, but he also felt deep fear and powerlessness. If Good was the only one who had an accident, the Douglas family master would go to the Butterfly family to ask for an explanation. However, the Lancer family was directly destroyed by the other party. This made the Douglas family master have no thoughts of resistance at all. He knew that the Douglas family was not stronger than the Lancer family. On the contrary, they were much worse. If the other party could easily destroy the Lancer family, then what was the Douglas family? Therefore, even if he wanted to take revenge, it was impossible. In the face of absolute strength, everything was fleeting. Although his son had died in vain, the Douglas family master didn't dare to complain at all. Who asked the other party to be stronger than him? Regarding this matter, he could only swallow his pride and swallow his pride. However, while swallowing his anger, Great Elder Gina suggested that he should quickly express his goodwill to the Butterfly family and cut ties with the Lancer family. After all, the fuse of the whole incident was caused by Good. Although Good was Thomas's grandson and the Lancer family was the one who stood up for him, Good was still a member of the Douglas family in the end. After the Butterfly family destroyed the Lancer family, it would be difficult to guarantee that they would not target the Douglas family again. It would be the end of the Douglas family if they destroyed one Lancer family or two. The Douglas family master, who was still angry about his son's death, couldn't be bothered to be angry after being reminded by Gina. He thought about it carefully and realized that it was indeed the case. If the Butterfly family really came to settle the score, how could the Douglas family be their opponent? However, the Douglas family master couldn't let a family master whose son had just been killed take the initiative to express goodwill to the Butterfly family. He was afraid that he would be impulsive and ruin things. Therefore, Great Elder Gina came to visit the Butterfly family on behalf of the Douglas family. Butler Moo, is the Wang family master at home? Gina asked politely. Family master. Butler Moo's face turned cold, and he said gloomily, doesn't the Elder Gina know where my family master is? Gunner didn't expect Steward Moo to be so direct and merciless. This made Gunner, who was prepared to exchange a few pleasantries before getting to the bottom of the matter, a little flustered. However, Gunner was indeed a shrewd old man. He pondered for a moment before saying, I won't hide it from you, Steward Moo. My nephew, Good, has indeed gone overboard with his actions. Why, Elder Gina? So, are you here to denounce him? Butler Moo asked with a cold snort. How would I dare? Gina smiled bitterly. It seems that this Butler Moo is really difficult to get along with. Good brought this upon himself, and he only has himself to blame. Our Douglas family has already decided to remove Good from his position as the first successor of the Good family, and expel him from the Douglas family forever. Therefore, Good's life and death have nothing to do with our Douglas family anymore. Butler Moo sneered in his heart after hearing this. He's already dead, yet he said these words. This good is really unlucky. He became an abandoned pawn so quickly. However, he was able to bear the consequences of his own sins. Once he died, all would be lost. It could be said that he died a worthy death. Although he thought so in his heart, Butler Moo said calmly, "Is that so?" "I see. I was still thinking about how to explain Good's death to your Douglas family. It seems that there's no need to explain it now." Gina smiled bitterly and said with a forced smile, "That's right. As long as the Wong family master is fine, I'm relieved. Since the family master is not at home, please help me convey the Douglas family's position." "Oh. What position?" Butler Moo was well aware, but he still asked despite knowing the answer. "Our Douglas family and the Butterfly family exist together in Elo Town. We will not do anything to destroy the friendship between the two sides. This time, it was a private action, but we still have to apologize. This kind of thing will not happen again in the future," Gina said solemnly. "Okay, I will convey Elder Gina's words to the family master truthfully. Please rest assured." Butler Moo nodded and agreed. "If that's the case, then I'll leave first. I won't disturb everyone." Seeing that his purpose had been achieved, Gina got up and prepared to leave. Chapter 1499. Dr. Jetson has lost contact with the central computer. A researcher wearing glasses and blue sterile overalls anxiously pushed open the door of Dr. Benjamin's office and said anxiously, "Lost contact. What's the matter, Lex?" Dr. Benjamin was initially dissatisfied with his assistant suddenly breaking into the room and disturbing his work, but he was shocked after hearing his words and asked quickly. 15 minutes ago, the terminal system in Jetson's body suddenly lost its signal connection with the central computer. The researcher named Lex explained, "At first, I thought it was a communication failure, so I didn't care and tried to reconnect. However, after connecting a few times, I didn't succeed. I realized that something seemed to have happened, so I turned on the GPS positioning system to find Jetson's location. However, I unexpectedly found that the GPS couldn't locate him. I couldn't find the GPS chip in Jetson's body at all. Have you tried to contact Jetson?" Dr. Benjamin couldn't help but frown slightly after hearing Lex's words. "I have tried, but the other party didn't respond." Lex replied, "Doctor, did Jetson secretly remove the chip in his body and escape?" "No." Dr. Benjamin waved his hand. "Since the escape of the central robots 3 years ago, I have changed the structure of their bodies and fixed the GPS chip and the communication terminal chip together in the central processing unit. Unless the central processing unit is destroyed, either of these two chips can't be deactivated alone. Once the central processor is destroyed, the entire robot's body parts will not be controlled except for the brain. The nutrient supply system will also stop working, leading to brain death." "So, it wasn't Jetson who cut off the connection with the central computer himself?" Lex asked doubtfully. "Yes, this is the secret of the central processor. Jetson also knows it very well. He won't do such a stupid thing that is equivalent to suicide. There must be something wrong with other links," said Dr. Benjamin with certainty. "Then, could it be that the central processor has a problem?" asked Lex. "It is possible, but the current situation does not seem to be the case. In addition to the main central processing unit, there is also a backup processor in Jetson's body. After the main processor has a problem, the backup processor will automatically take over the functions of the main processor. So even if the main processor has a problem, we can still contact Jetson. And the possibility of two processors having problems at the same time is almost zero," said Dr. Benjamin. "Go ask the intelligence department and investigate the situation of the Lancer family." Dr. Benjamin naturally knew where Jetson was going. Dr. Benjamin had acquiesced to Jetson going to deal with some personal matters before carrying out the mission. "Yes, Doctor, I'll investigate it now." Lex nodded and quickly left Dr. Benjamin's office. As for Dr. Benjamin, after Lex left, his brows furrowed even tighter. Jetson was a robot that he had personally designed and built. No one knew Jetson's strength better than him. This was the latest technological product. It was significantly better than the previous generation of robots. Dr. Benjamin had only succeeded in creating a finished product like Jetson after many failed experiments. Now that Jetson had suddenly lost contact, an ominous premonition suddenly surged in Dr. Benjamin's heart. As he had said before, the possibility of two central processors having problems at the same time was almost zero. As a result, Jetson had either used a unique means to cut off contact with the central computer, or he had died. Thinking of the possibility that Jetson might have been destroyed, Dr. Benjamin's mouth twitched. This was his years of hard work. Although it was not impossible to manufacture some more robots with the technology in hand, the components to be manufactured were too rare and expensive, and the manufacturing process was very complicated. He couldn't make as many as he wanted. At present, except for Jetson, the finished products, the others were some semi-finished products. Even if they were assembled into finished products, it would take a lot of effort to debug them. "Doctor, the Lancer family has been exterminated." Lex quickly returned to the laboratory and came to Dr. Benjamin's office. He exclaimed. "What?" Dr. Benjamin was shocked when he heard Lex's words. "Annihilated? What do you mean?" "Just tonight, at about 22:00, there was an unexpected explosion in the Lancer family. All the direct members of the Lancer family were killed. Although it was an accident according to the official news, we have learned through our own channels that this was a man-made accident. It should have been done by the Butterfly family," Lex explained. "Man-made? Exterminated?" So, under Jetson's protection, the Lancer family still could not escape the fate of being exterminated. Dr. Benjamin's face instantly became gloomy, and Jetson was also in this explosion. "It's possible." Lex smiled bitterly. "Doctor, but the intelligence department said that they did not find Jetson's body. There's no corpse." A glimmer of hope flashed in Dr. Benjamin's eyes, but it quickly dimmed again. "Perhaps, the people of the Butterfly family have found something strange and taken the corpse away." Butterfly family? After hearing this, Lex's face showed a stern expression. "Doctor, shouldn't we teach them a lesson? How dare they touch our Central's people?" "Central's people?" Dr. Benjamin sneered. "Lex, don't be too arrogant. So what if it's Central? Our Central's name is not scary in the outside world. Moreover, since the Butterfly family has the power to deal with Jetson, aren't we asking for trouble if we act rashly?" Lex was shocked and sobered up all of a sudden. "Yes, since the Butterfly family can destroy Jetson, then it is indeed unwise for Central to be enemies with them." At this moment, Yang Ming still didn't know that Central had targeted the Butterfly family. Previously, he thought that he had killed Jetson without anyone noticing. Central wouldn't be able to find him immediately in a short time. This was because Yang Ming thought that Jetson had secretly come out to stand up for the Lancer family. He had acted without Central's knowledge, and Central didn't know his whereabouts. So, even if Jetson died and Central found out that he was missing, it was impossible to know that Jetson had died in the Lancer family in a short time. Unexpectedly, Dr. Benjamin knew Jetson's whereabouts like the back of his hand. "I didn't put the Butterfly family in my eyes before, but now I have to take them seriously." Dr. Benjamin reached out and turned on a pager on the computer screen, and began to call Falcon. "Doctor, what can I do for you?" Falcon, who was far away in China, heard the call and quickly took out his handheld computer. When he saw that it was the doctor calling him, he quickly replied. "Falcon, something happened to Jetson." We don't know if he is dead or alive. He can't help you for the time being. Postpone your actions. Dr. Benjamin sighed and sent a message over. What? Is there a problem with Mr. Jetson? Falcon was shocked, but his eyes showed great disappointment. Chapter 1500. Falcon's skills were not very good, but he had learned a very nimble movement technique under the guidance of an expert in his early years. Therefore, in terms of concealment and escape, Falcon was better at it. However, in terms of fighting, Falcon was not a match for him. This was also the reason why Falcon could sneak into the Immortal Building and kill the Sway family's people silently. However, if he were to fight head-on, he might not be able to gain any advantage. Especially when facing Yang Ming, Falcon always had a feeling of powerlessness. Although he had trained several men of sacrifice under him, they were still not Yang Ming's opponent. Even the female sacrifice that he was most proud of was easily eliminated by Yang Ming. This made him feel heartache, and he also had a deep fear of Yang Ming. Therefore, Falcon chose to cooperate with Elder Yu. However, he did not expect that even with Elder Yu's strange and mysterious evil techniques, he still could not do anything to Yang Ming. Elder Yu even fled after Yang Ming destroyed his plan. This made Falcon even more afraid of fighting head-on with Yang Ming. However, under his series of insidious tricks, not only did he not do anything to Yang Ming, but he also became a wanted criminal. If it weren't for the superb mask made by Dr. Benjamin and not showing his true face, he would probably have returned to Central this time. After a series of failures in his plans, Dr. Benjamin finally sent a strong support to Falcon. It was said that he was a super master, a godly person who could crush stones with one punch. Of course, Benjamin did not tell Falcon that Jetson was a robot. Just as Falcon was happily waiting for this great master to come, he suddenly received the news from Dr. Benjamin that Jetson could not go. He suddenly fell from heaven to hell. Why didn't he come? Jetson went to deal with the conflict between his cousin and the Butterfly family, but his cousin's Lancer family has been exterminated by the Butterfly family. Jetson's fate is unknown. Benjamin's message quickly replied. When Falcon saw the words, Butterfly family, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared immediately. He muttered to himself, the Butterfly family actually has such a powerful force. Even the master that Dr. Benjamin highly admires is killed. It's really extraordinary. It seems that my initial decision was right. What's wrong, boss? You don't look well. Huang Yukai did not see the information on Falcon's PDA, so he did not know what had happened. He saw Falcon muttering to himself with a bad expression, so he asked worriedly. The master I told you about before may not come. When Falcon thought of this, his heart began to bleed. Why am I so unlucky? Jetson couldn't do anything else, but he just had to provoke the Butterfly family. Now, he's done for. Won't come. What do you mean? Could it be that the person behind you doesn't want to provide you with any help? Huang Yukai was shocked. He was also looking forward to the master's arrival. This way, he would not have to be afraid of Yang Ming's skills. Yang Ming's skills were amazing. Not only was Falcon afraid, but even Huang Yukai was also very afraid. He did not dare to face him head-on. If the Master Jetson came, he could directly capture Yang Ming. He would not be afraid of anything. However, he did not expect that this person would not come. Falcon shook his head, he was involved in a conflict. I'm afraid he has already been eliminated. Eliminated? Didn't you say that the Master can crush stones with one hand? His martial arts are invulnerable. How can such a powerful person be eliminated? Huang Yukai asked curiously. No matter how powerful he is, I'm afraid he is only one person. His opponent is an assassin group. It is not surprising that he died. Falcon obviously did not want to say too much and did not reveal any information about the butterfly family. Assassin group. Huang Youcai's heart trembled. He had long known that his boss was not an ordinary person, but he did not expect that the level of contact he had actually come into contact with such a terrifying and secretive existence as an assassin group. For ordinary people, an assassin group was something that was difficult to come into contact with in a lifetime. Even if Huang Youcai was involved in smuggling and committing crimes by Wang Shifan's side, it was only a small underworld organization. It was impossible for him to come into contact with such an existence as an assassin group. Yes, and it is an assassin group that is ranked very high in the world. Falcon did not say in detail and just vaguely said, "Boss, since you can come into contact with the people of an assassin group, I don't know if I should say something." Huang Youcai hesitated and asked, "What else can't we say to each other? If you have anything to say, just say it." Falcon looked at Huang Youcai strangely and said, "It's like this, boss. With all due respect, since you can come into contact with the people of an assassin group, why don't we pay for an assassin to assassinate Yang Ming? In this way, once Yang Ming dies, everything will be solved. Our hatred will be avenged. Why do we have to go through so much trouble like now?" Huang Youcai suggested. "Hire an assassin to kill Yang Ming." Falcon listened to Huang Youcai's suggestion and couldn't help but sneer. "There is one thing that I haven't told you. Do you know what Yang Ming's real identity is?" "Real identity?" Huang Youcai was stunned and immediately said, "I naturally know a thing or two about this. His identity on the surface is a college student, but his secret identity is the one who controls the Ming-Yang group. Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan, these two famous figures in society, should be Yang Ming's underlings. These are not all of Yang Ming, they are just the surface that is exposed." Falcon shook his head. "Yang Ming's real identity is actually an assassin." "What? Yang Ming is an assassin?" Huang Youcai looked at Falcon incredulously. He didn't know if what Falcon said was true or not. His master is a very famous figure in the industry. Even though Yang Ming is worse than his master, he is definitely not someone that an ordinary assassin can deal with. Falcon said faintly, "So, this is also the reason why I didn't find an assassin group to kill him. But, since the assassin group can't deal with Yang Ming, isn't Mr. Jetson also powerless when he comes?" Back then, the boss had high hopes for him. Huang Youcai wondered. Moreover, Mr. Jetson also died under the assassin group. Then, Yang Ming, I guess that Jetson was eliminated because the assassin group dispatched all the experts in the family. How can we persuade them to send these experts to deal with Yang Ming at the same time? Falcon said disapprovingly, "Besides, I didn't say the most important point. But since you asked, I might as well tell you. Yang Ming and the assassin group that eliminated Jetson have a deep relationship. Expecting them to assassinate Yang Ming. It's already good enough that they don't tip us off. Is Yang Ming a member of the assassin group?" Huang Youcai was shocked, and cold sweat broke out on his back. For the first time, he knew that Yang Ming actually had such a terrifying identity and backer, and for the first time, he was a little timid. He didn't know if it was right or wrong to keep going against Yang Ming. That's not it. Yang Ming is the son-in-law of the assassin group. Falcon glanced at Huang Youcai. Huang Youcai's nervous expression was in full view. He smiled coldly and said, "Why? Are you afraid?" No. Huang Youcai knew that since he had chosen to go against Yang Ming, there was no turning back. Moreover, Falcon had told him a lot of things today. If he wanted to retreat, Falcon would definitely kill him. Therefore, Huang Youcai had to go all the way. There was no room for maneuver. "That's good." Falcon withdrew his murderous aura and said indifferently, since I can be an enemy of Yang Ming, I naturally have something to rely on. Moreover, the forces behind me are 100 times stronger than the assassin group. This time, I'm afraid we don't need to say anything. The people behind me will not let the assassin group go. Therefore, Yang Ming will lose this backer in the blink of an eye. Although Dr. Benjamin did not say how to deal with the butterfly family, Falcon knew that with Dr. Benjamin's temperament, this matter would definitely not end like this. How could Central suffer such a big loss for no reason when they dared to kill someone from Central, and an expert at that? At that time, the butterfly family might disappear from the earth. Huang Yukai was relieved after listening to Falcon's explanation. Falcon was not stupid. He knew that Yang Ming's strength was not weak, yet he still dared to go against him. He must have something to rely on. Otherwise, unless his brain was flooded with water, he would not do so many things that he overestimated himself. I hate Yang Ming to the core. Although he is an assassin, I am not afraid of him since I am going against him. Huang Yukai said firmly after thinking about it, "Don't worry, boss. He and I are already mortal enemies. But what should we do next?" Jetson's accident completely disrupted our prearranged plan. What should we do? Let's wait and see what my superiors say, Falcon said. Falcon said, since Jetson can't come, we can't face Yang Ming head-on with the strength of the two of us. Moreover, the situation outside is tense. The police seem to have not given up on tracking us, so we should rest for a while first. That's good too. Huang Yukai nodded in agreement. Since he knew Yang Ming's true identity, he was unwilling to be an enemy of Yang Ming because it was meaningless. He did not think that he was Yang Ming's opponent. Therefore, before the arrival of strong reinforcements, it was best to keep a low profile and recuperate. Chapter 1501. It had been half a month since the Lancer family was annihilated and Jetson was killed. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan also held a grand engagement ceremony in the butterfly family's butterfly castle. Almost all the large and small families in Europe's upper class sent a heavyweight in their family to congratulate them. Most of them were family masters or elders who came in person. At the very least, they were the first in line to congratulate them. Even the leaders of some small countries had come in person. Some hidden families, such as the royal family who had fled previously, had also shown their faces. It was conceivable that the reputation of the butterfly family had reached a terrifying level. No one was a fool. Everyone knew how terrifying the power that could annihilate the entire Lancer family in an instant was. Moreover, after the annihilation of the Lancer family, no official organization came to trouble the butterfly family. It was impossible for this not to explain the problem. At this time, the Buffon family's family master, Old Buffon, came forward to support them and personally attended the engagement ceremony. The other families knew that they were not as powerful as the Buffon family. Since Old Buffon had gone in person, what else did they lack? Therefore, regardless of whether they were familiar with each other or not, whether they had received an invitation or not, all of them came to visit. This caught the butterfly family, who was originally unprepared, a little off guard. There were only so many guest rooms prepared for the VIP guests, but the number of guests doubled. Where were the extra guests going to stay? Fortunately, these people were here to express their intentions, not to enjoy anything. So Wang Songshan hurriedly asked the servants and disciples to empty out a part of the rooms. It was barely enough for them to stay, but no one had any complaints. Originally, they were here to express friendliness. If they were thought to be looking for trouble, then the loss outweighed the gain. So, even if they were assigned to a very shabby room, everyone still had a sincere expression of joy on their faces. As for the servants and disciples who gave up their rooms, they squeezed with the others and could make do with it. According to Yang Ming's prior instructions, Old Buffon did not appear at the engagement ceremony as a disciple of Yang Ming. Instead, he appeared as an ally of the butterfly family. However, even this identity moved everyone present. What kind of prestige does the Buffon family have? They actually became allies with an assassin family. This is intriguing. Is there anything fishy in this? However, even if people thought so, no one would be stupid enough to ask. In any case, it was a fact that the Buffon family and the butterfly family had a good relationship. No matter how good they were, it was fine as long as they didn't offend them. As for the Charles family, Yang Ming did not tell them that he was coming. Only a few people knew about the relationship between Yang Ming and the Charles family. Except for Fang Tian, Wang Songshan, Wang Ruoxue, Butler Mu, Wang Xiaoyan, and the Charles family, no one else knew about this matter. Therefore, Yang Ming did not intend to make it public now. He just kept the Charles family as a hidden weapon. Maybe they would play an unexpected role in the future. As for Yang Ming's identity, Wang Songshan did not introduce it. Only people in the industry knew that this young man was the successor of the King of Assassins. Other guests from ordinary families did not know about Yang Ming's identity. However, everyone vaguely felt that Yang Ming's identity should not be simple. The butterfly family being able to befriend the Buffon family and destroy the Lancer family this time should be more or less related to this new son-in-law. Otherwise, why didn't they hear about the butterfly family befriending the Buffon family for so many years? Why were they always subject to the Lancer family's firearm supply? These all explained some clues. These few days were the happiest days of Wang Xiaoyan's life. Although she knew that Yang Ming had other women like Qin Mengyan, she was probably the only one who was engaged to Yang Ming. Although she was a latecomer, Wang Xiaoyan was very happy that she had caught up with him. At the very least, she was the first woman to hold such a grand ceremony with Yang Ming. Perhaps these things were just illusory illusions. It was just an engagement ceremony. There was not much fundamental change to the relationship with Yang Ming. It was just a title to outsiders. However, most women valued these things very much. Wang Xiaoyan was no exception. Wang Xiaoyan took this kind of engagement ceremony to declare sovereignty very seriously. Although she was very tired after a few days of socializing, she still enjoyed it. Yang Ming, you didn't expect it, right? The first person you married was actually me. Wang Xiaoyan was still full of energy even though she had been tired for a few days. Yang Ming couldn't help but admire her. I can't disobey my teacher's orders. What can I do? Yang Ming rolled his eyes. He still had some complaints about Fang Tian and Wang Songshan's previous actions. Hee hee. Wang Xiaoyan laughed after listening, then you don't want to marry me. I didn't say that. I just felt that it was too farcical. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I didn't care about this engagement at all before, but I didn't expect that the person I was engaged to would be you. This way, I have to marry you. Huh, did you promise something to Qin Mengyan before? Wang Xiaoyan was very smart. She naturally heard the helplessness and bitterness in Yang Ming's words, but she didn't think there was anything wrong with it. After all, she had only been with Yang Ming for 2 months, and they were already engaged. How could the master of the harem, Qin Mengyan, endure this? Okay, don't take it for granted. Let's just leave it at that. But don't talk nonsense in front of Qin Mengyan. Yang Ming said helplessly. Do you think I'm sick? Why would I show off in front of her? It's better to keep this kind of thing to yourself. If you fall out with her, you will definitely help her. I won't ask for trouble. Wang Xiaoyan curled her lips and said with certainty. I won't side with. Yang Ming said somewhat insincerely, just don't do anything to her. See, you're still siding with her, right? Wang Xiaoyan snorted, aren't you afraid that I will kill her? Do you think I'm stupid? If you kill her, won't you kill me? Yang Ming laughed twice and didn't answer, but he really didn't know how to answer in his heart. If Wang Xiaoyan really killed Qin Mengyan, what would Yang Ming do? Was he going to kill Wang Xiaoyan as well? Yang Ming shook his head. It seemed that he really couldn't do it, but he didn't know how to face Wang Xiaoyan. Chapter 1502. Brother Nan, why did you become so timid after that bitch Lu Huamei left? Lu Jifei looked at Lu Zhinan in front of him with some confusion. The finance department is now under your sole control. There are plenty of opportunities to make money. Why aren't you tempted? Timid. Lu Zhinan frowned and smiled. Of course I know there are plenty of opportunities to make money. But do you know that in addition to Lu Huamei, my younger brother Lu Zhiqiao is also eyeing me like a tiger watching its prey? Previously, when Lu Huamei was here, we brothers had a common enemy. It could be considered as a temporary tacit agreement with the outside world. But now that Lu Huamei has been sent out, his only competitor is naturally me. How can he not keep an eye on me? That's true. Why don't we use some more means to make Lu Zhiqiao stand aside? Lu Jifei was only extremely respectful to Lu Zhinan. He called the rest of the Lu family by their names without any scruples. However, Lu Zhinan didn't mind because he also hated those few people to the core. Lu Zhiqiao isn't in a hurry. Lu Zhinan waved his hand and said, he's far behind me. I'm still most worried about Lu Huamei. Why, Brother Nan? Didn't that bitch Lu Huamei get sent out by the old man? Why are you still thinking about her? Could it be that she can still make waves on the other side of Songjiang? Lu Jifei asked with some doubts. In his opinion, Lu Huamei was already an abandoned child of the Lu family. There was no possibility of her coming back after she went to Songjiang. That's what I thought at first. Lu Zhinan frowned and then said with some worry, Jifei, think about it. How much did the old man like Lu Huamei before? He didn't hesitate to offend many people in the group to get rid of the pressure and help Lu Huamei get the position of finance director. But now, why did he just flatten her? Although he didn't completely strip her of power, she's still a figurehead. Don't you think this is strange? Brother Nan, after listening to your analysis, I also feel that something is wrong. Lu Jifei nodded in agreement. I didn't know much about the old man's situation before, but now that you mention it, this matter is really unusual. Isn't this contrast a bit too big? I only felt that this matter was a little strange after thinking about it carefully for a few days. The contrast between before and after is indeed huge. This is why I feel that Lu Huamei is the biggest threat. After Lu Zhinan's initial excitement, he began to calm down. The taste of monopolizing power was not very good. He had to be wary of the old man's thoughts at all times. He also had to be on guard against Lu Huamei's comeback and Lu Zhiqiao's interference behind the scenes. Could it be that the old man has gone senile? You are his eldest grandson, so he gave you the power. Lu Jifei thought about it and analyzed. Old fool. Humph. Lu Zhinan sneered. In this group, no one is as senile as him. If he was senile, the group would have been in chaos long ago. How could it be so peaceful? But as you said, it is possible that I am his eldest grandson. No matter how smart and capable Lu Huamei is, she is still a woman. She will still have to marry in the future. Grandfather can't possibly leave the Lu family's business to an outsider, right? This is inevitable. If I were old man Lu, I wouldn't leave such a big business to a woman. Passing it to a man and not a woman has been a tradition since ancient times, said Lu Jifei. Lu Zhinan nodded. Now, what I'm most afraid of is that the old man is playing hard to get. First, he will lure that bitch Lu Huamei away, then secretly nurture her in secret. Then, he will appear out of nowhere and forcefully return to the group's headquarters. After listening to Lu Zhenan's words, Lu Jifei's disapproving expression finally turned serious. This means that Lu Huamei is really a big problem. If we don't get rid of her, she will become a big problem. Lu Jifei's expression turned serious. Yeah, the old man has been in the business world all his life. It is impossible for him to do such a thing casually, said Lu Zhenan. Lu Zhenan said, if the old man is just playing hard to get, then it's fine. We just need to follow the original plan and make that bitch Lu Huamei unable to make a comeback. But what I'm afraid of is that the old man deliberately gave me the power to inflate my self-confidence to a certain extent. Then, he will have an excuse to take me down and let someone else take over after seeing me make a mistake. It shouldn't be possible, right? Lu Jifei's heart trembled. He felt that what Lu Zhenan said was a bit too sinister. Why not? The old man can do anything. You have to know that the Jiangyan Group is his life's work. He doesn't want to allow the Jiangyan Group to fall into the hands of other surnames, but he also won't allow someone who can destroy the Jiangyan Group to lead the overall situation. Lu Zhenan sneered a little self-deprecatingly as he said this. I'm afraid that in the old man's eyes, I'm the one who harms the public interest for personal gain, right? Harms the public interest for personal gain. Lu Jifei disagreed. The old man is not stupid. Now, Brother Nan, you are using your position to cultivate confidence and do something that will harm the group. This is also to prepare for your future promotion. Once you succeed and become the leader of the Jiangyan Group, will you still do something that will harm the interests of the group? Lu Jifei nodded. And what you said makes sense. Lu Zhenan's expression eased a little. He nodded and said, I'm relieved to hear you say this. But no matter what, we have to deal with that bitch Lu Huamei first. Then, we can focus on dealing with Lu Zhiqiao. Even if the old man really wants to play hard to get or find trouble with me, I will be the only direct descendant of the old man once both of them are down. If he doesn't give the company to me, who else can he give it to? Okay, Brother Nan, then let's start implementing our plan. Lu Jifei gritted his teeth and said, although the preparation time is a little rushed, it's not a problem. As long as we plan it properly, Lu Huamei will definitely not be able to escape this time. And that plan should be implemented. However, those people can be trusted, right? Don't let it be like last time, where a traitor like Su Xiaobin ruined the plan. You and I will not be able to bear the consequences. Lu Zhenan hesitated and warned, the old man may be waiting to see us make a fool of ourselves. Aren't the people sent over Brother Nan's direct subordinates? Lu Jifei was stunned and asked immediately. My subordinates are good, but they can't be said to be my direct subordinates. None of them are 100% trustworthy like you and me. Lu Zhenan waved his hand and said, you also know that I can't have too much interaction with these people at the bottom of the company. I sent these people over to introduce them to you just to tell you that these people are still useful. As for who is going to carry out this plan, it's still up to you to decide and choose the right person. And, during this time, I have also contacted a lot of people. The deputy captain of the escort team is absolutely trustworthy. His father has uremia and is waiting for a kidney transplant in the hospital. Not to mention that the surgery fee is a lot of money, the kidney source is also a big problem. I have already promised him that as long as he is obedient, not only will I solve the surgery fee for him, but I will also help him contact a kidney source. Lu Jifei said, Brother Nan, contacting a kidney source is not a problem for you, right? You won't blame me for making a promise in advance, right? This is nothing. It's nothing more than a matter of money. Lu Zhenan said, the key problem is that if we let him lead the team to carry out the mission, once the matter is exposed and others see that we are busy with his father's matter, will they suspect us? I have thought about this problem a long time ago. Lu Jifei smiled and said, "Don't worry, Brother Nan. His father used to be an old employee of our Jiangyan group. Speaking of his uremia, it was a hidden danger left behind by a gas bomb when he was digging the foundation of the group's construction site. Therefore, it's completely flexible whether our group will give him money to treat his illness or not. It's up to you, President Liu, to decide whether or not we can help him." "Oh. If that's the case, then it's easy." Lu Jinan said, "How about this? You first transfer his father to the best hospital and maintain him with the best medicine first. As for the kidney source, don't worry. Slowly contact them. However, you spread the word that I understand the employees who have worked hard for the group. Since they are injured because of work, our group will take care of it to the end." Brilliant. It's really brilliant. After listening, Lu Jifei flattered and praised. In this way, not only will others not be able to say anything, but they will also say that President Liu is kind and a good leader. When you have a good reputation among the group's employees, even if the old man chooses a successor, he will have to consider public opinion. And the second point is that this happened before our plan, so no one can say anything about it. That's what I mean, but there is one more point. We must think of a suitable reason. Otherwise, others will have a reason to suspect us." Lu Jinan nodded and said. Chapter 1503. Oh. Lu Jifei also pondered slightly after hearing Lu Jinan's words. Then, he said, "Brother Nan, you mean that since we have already treated his family for free, what reason does he have to do that?" "Is that so?" "That's right. Everything needs a motive. He has no motive to do that. Even if he runs away in the end, he will still implicate us. Although there is no evidence, the old man doesn't need any evidence to suspect a person," said Lu Jinan. "In that case, it's really a problem." Lu Jifei nodded and said, "Let me think about it carefully and see if there is any way to get the best of both worlds. In this period, there is nothing wrong with being careful." Lu Jinan sighed. Got it. Lu Jifei was indeed a sinister and cunning villain. He quickly thought of a solution. This was also the reason why Lu Jinan valued him. "Brother Nan, look at this. It is illegal to buy and sell kidneys. Although there are many underground transactions and everyone has a tacit understanding, it is not allowed on the surface. Therefore, we can do this. Although we can express that we can give free treatment to the vice captain's father, we will refuse to help him buy a kidney from the black market. You can spread the word that our Jiangyan group will not do these illegal things. In this way, we can bury the contradiction between Brother Nan and him. Then I will let him go out and spread that Brother Nan is just hypocritical and not sincere in treating his father. In this way. It will work. Not bad, Jifei. You really have a brain." Lu Jinan was overjoyed when he heard it. This idea can be said to be flawless. At that time, no matter how smart the old man is, he won't suspect us. Indeed, but in order to be more secure, Brother Nan, you are now monopolizing the power of the group. In this situation where you can decide everything by yourself, it is best for you to start being polite to the wise and ask about the well-being of all the employees of the group. This way, you can buy people's hearts. Secondly, when it is exposed that the deputy captain's father has uremia and you give him free treatment, it won't seem to be abrupt. Lu Jifei reminded. Okay, we will do as you say. Lu Jinan and Lu Jifei finalized the plan, and their hearts were unusually refreshed. I will treat tonight. Let's go out and have fun together. Then I will do as you say. Lu Jifei did not refuse. The more he went to those places with Lu Jinan, the closer the relationship between the two people. Lu Jifei had now bet all his future on Lu Jinan. If Lu Jinan successfully ascended to the top one day, then Lu Jifei would be the greatest contributor. The next day, Lu Jinan seemed to have become more humble. His previous domineering attitude was swept away. He listened attentively to and adopted his subordinates' suggestions and honest advice. Not only that, Lu Jinan also launched several employee welfare projects. In the basement of the company building, in a useless warehouse, he started to build an employee activity center. There was a billiard room, a cafe, and a leisure chess and card room for the employees to play during their lunch break. Lu Jinan's plan quickly received unanimous praise from the chairman, Lu Jiangyan. These were all things that Lu Jiangyan had wanted to do before, but he had been delayed by some trivial matters. Then, he was worried about the power struggle of his descendants, so he did not have the heart to do other things. Seeing Lu Jinan's change, old man Lu Jiangyan's heart was shaken for the first time. He was originally disappointed in this grandson of his, but he didn't expect that without Lu Huamei pressuring him step by step, this grandson's way of doing things would have a fundamental change. Is it really because there are no competitors that he started to think about the company's interests wholeheartedly? Lu Jiangyan planned to observe for a while. If Lu Jinan really changed, then it was not impossible to hand over the group to him. After all, Lu Huamei was a girl. She couldn't not marry for the rest of her life, right? Lu Jiangyan did not want to see the Jiangyan group become something in the hands of an outsider. Motherfucker, it's too tiring to pretend to be a grandson. I have to greet those subordinates with a smile every day. My face is cramping from smiling so much. In a luxury car, Lu Jinan rubbed his face with his hands and muttered curses. Brother Nan, it's worth it to endure for now in order to achieve great things, Lu Jifei persuaded while driving. Motherfucker, that old bastard surnamed Zhang in the planning department really thinks he's a big shot. He didn't dare to say anything when I pointed at him and scolded him. Now that my attitude has changed, he's taking advantage of me. Motherfucker, who does he think he is? I don't agree with their plan, and he's still dawdling with me. If it was in the past, I would have already fucking kicked him out. Now, I have to patiently analyze the pros and cons for him. Lu Jinan was about to explode today. It was the first time he felt that his authority was being challenged. He was really unhappy to the extreme. That guy surnamed Zhang, let him be arrogant for a while. When the Jiangyan group is in Brother Nan's pocket, we'll be the first to get rid of him. Lu Jifei said along with Lu Jinan, now, let him be smug for a few days. And, I remember these people who dare to question me. Motherfucker, I'll settle accounts with you all later. Lu Jinan snorted and said, Jifei, find a book and write down the names of these people for me. I want them to see who's in charge of the Jiangyan group. Don't worry, Brother Nan, I'll remember it for you. Lu Jifei patted his backpack and said proudly. Cursing was cursing, but the next day, Lu Jinan still appeared in the company with a smile on his face. He was as friendly as ever. No matter whether it was to people or things, he showed a kind attitude. Brother Lu, the front desk just called and said that an old employee of the group suffered from uremia because of his early work. His son brought him to the company to ask for an explanation. What do you think about this matter? Should we ask the security department to kick them out? Lu Jinan's secretary, Little Xia, walked into Lu Jinan's office while swaying her sexy waist. Little Xia was actually one of Lu Jinan's lovers. She also knew about Lu Jinan's matters, so she said Lu Jinan's usual methods without any scruples. She was also considered Lu Jinan's confidant. At least she wouldn't betray Lu Jinan. She knew very well in her heart that she was Lu Jinan's woman. If Lu Jinan was promoted, she would also be a meritorious person and get a lot of benefits. Even if Lu Jinan wanted to get rid of her, letting her be the general manager of the company below was the lightest compensation. Even so, Lu Jinan still didn't tell her about his plan this time. It was better to let fewer people know about this kind of thing. He was afraid that too many people would gossip. If it was leaked, it would be over. Don't. You're causing trouble for me, right? Don't you see that I, your brother, have become a friendly president these days? Lu Jinan stopped little Xia with a stare and said, "Let's go downstairs with me. We will personally receive this old employee." "Yes, Brother Lu." Little Xia didn't dare to disobey and quickly agreed, but she was a little puzzled in her heart. "Brother Lu, why did you suddenly change? Why are you willing to meddle in other people's business? This group isn't yours yet. Isn't it better to let others deal with these broken things?" Chapter 1504. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. Lu Jinan interrupted little Xia's words and said coldly, "Watch your mouth. Don't talk nonsense. I'm just saying it in front of Brother Lu. How can I say it to others?" Little Xia was shocked when she saw that Lu Jinan was really angry. She quickly said, "It's good that you know. I want to change a new image in front of everyone now. You must not ruin my business. Otherwise, you know the consequences." Lu Jinan warned faintly. "Don't worry, Brother Lu. I know. You want to be a president close to the people." Little Xia said with a sweet smile. "Close to the people. You can say that." Lu Jinan nodded. "Also, call me Vice President Lu in the future. Don't call me Brother Lu or President Lu. It's not good to let others hear it." "Vice President Lu. Brother Lu, didn't you used to hate people adding the word vice to your title?" Little Xia asked with some doubts. "The past is the past. The present is the present." Lu Jinan said, "Nothing can be accomplished without rules. My real position now is a vice president. If the old man hears you calling me president, he will think that I'm a person who is eager for quick success. That's not good." "Yes, my Vice President Lu. I know." Little Xia responded sweetly. Lu Jinan and Little Xia quickly went downstairs. They saw that in the first-floor hall of the company, there were many employees who were watching the show. However, when these people saw Lu Jinan, they automatically made way and let Lu Jinan enter the center. "Everyone, disperse. Go back to work. Don't watch. Leave this matter to Vice President Lu." Little Xia saw that the people in the company were watching and quickly said. Although Lu Jinan had recently become close to the people, the employees in the company were in the wrong after all. It was working time now. It was not right for them to gather here to watch the show. After being scolded by Little Xia, they all showed awkward expressions. Just as they were about to leave, they heard a voice of objection. "No, we can't leave. If we leave, what will happen to my old father if the officials don't admit their mistakes?" The one who spoke was the vice captain of the escort team, Lu Xiaolei. This was also a rehearsal. Lu Jinan was just about to say what Little Xia had said, but Little Xia beat him to it. He felt relieved. It seemed that Little Xia was quite smart. She said it more naturally than he did. After all, he now had the image of a president close to the people, so it was not good to scold them. But if he did not scold them, Lu Xiaolei would not have said anything. Just as he was in a dilemma, Xiao Xia helped him solve the problem. This way, all he had to do was to play the good cop all the way and show his image as a friendly CEO. "Hee, this young man, I understand your feelings very well. However, everyone here should be able to prove what kind of person I, Lu Jinan, am, right?" Lu Jinan smiled faintly and calmly asked the company employees who were watching the show. He did not continue to chase people away. Instead, he asked a question, which made the employees present stop in their tracks. After all, they also wanted to see what was going on. Hearing Lu Zhenan's question, a few of Lu Zhenan's direct subordinates who were ambushing the employees in advance said, "Vice President Lu has always been very attentive to the welfare of our employees. Yeah, he always thinks for us from the perspective of our employees. Young man, you are right to believe in him. If you have any difficulties, Vice President Lu will definitely help you solve them." With these few people taking the lead, the others recalled Lu Zhenan's actions during this period. It was really as the few people said before. He had obtained a lot of benefits for their employees. Although Lu Zhenan was a bit arrogant and domineering in the past, it was all in the past after all. As long as things were better now, who would care about the things in the past? Besides, Lu Zhenan was standing on the spot now. No one was stupid. Wouldn't it be asking for trouble if they objected or said something bad about Lu Zhenan at this time? Therefore, under the praise of the few people before, everyone also said yes. This caused a sensation that even Lu Zhenan himself didn't expect. Previously, he didn't expect everyone to say good things about him. He just planted a few spies among them. With these people speaking, the goal would be achieved if the others didn't object. However, he didn't expect the effect to be so good. For a while, even Lu Zhenan himself was a little smug. He didn't expect that his hypocritical act would raise his reputation in the company to the peak. Isn't this a huge gain? Originally, Lu Xiaolei was also here to act. What these people said had no effect on him at all. Instead, he was secretly surprised. This Lu Zhenan was really awesome. In a short period of time, he had already controlled the hearts of so many people. It seemed that relying on him to work for him was really a wise choice. Once Lu Zhenan is promoted, my contributions will definitely not go unnoticed. Thinking of this, Lu Xiaolei was even more motivated. How could he know that these people were just doing this on the spur of the moment? But this was not important. Lu Xiaolei's eyes showed a skeptical look. Really? Don't lie to me. Although I have been sent to work in Songjiang for some time, I also served the group before. Although I am not familiar with Vice President Lu, I haven't heard of anything about benefits. Young man, don't talk nonsense. At this time, an old man walked up to him and said in a low voice, "In the past, Director Lu Huamei restricted Vice President Lu everywhere. That was why Vice President Lu couldn't show his skills. Now that the chairman is wise and transferred Lu Huamei away, our Vice President Lu can start to show his skills." This old man was one of Lu Zhenan's confidants. He was also one of the company's elders, the Deputy Minister of the Human Resources Department, Lu Pansen. Speaking of which, he was Lu Jiangyan's distant nephew. He was also Lu Zhenan's uncle. However, he knew that although his identity was special, it was impossible for him to make a name for himself in the group. After all, their relationship was too distant. Therefore, he secretly relied on Lu Zhenan. However, it was because of his special identity that he dared to call Lu Huamei by her name and say something that others didn't dare to say. He believed that even if Lu Jiangyan knew about it, he wouldn't say anything else. After all, he was Lu Huamei's uncle. It was normal for him to say a few words to the younger generation. Although Lu Pansen's voice was very low, everyone present heard it clearly. This matter was a mixture of truth and lies. Lu Zhenan and Lu Huamei's struggle for power was not a secret. Therefore, when Lu Pansen said it now, everyone was 90% convinced. Thinking about it carefully, Lu Zhenan's change did start after he took over power. Therefore, they sincerely believed Lu Pansen's words. Lu Zhenan pretended not to hear Lu Pansen's words at this moment. He walked over with a smile and came to Lu Xiaolei. He said earnestly, "Listening to what you said, you are also an employee of the group, right? Is your old father also an old employee of the group? For people like you who have served the group for 2 generations, not only will I solve any problems for you, but I will also give priority to solving them. If you have any difficulties, just say it. I promise you in front of so many people that no matter what the difficulties are, as long as the company can solve them and it doesn't involve illegal matters, I will try my best to solve them for you. Okay, since Vice President Liu said so, then I will believe you. Liu Xiaolei nodded and showed a gratified and grateful expression. Okay, let's go to the conference room to talk about it in detail, said Liu Jinan. This is the company's lobby after all. People come and go. It's not good to say anything here. With so many people as witnesses, what are you afraid of? Okay, then let's go to the conference room. Liu Xiaolei nodded and walked to the conference room with Liu Jinan. When everyone in the company saw that there was nothing to see, they all dispersed and went to do their own work. When they arrived at the conference room, Liu Jinan waved to the secretary behind him, Little Xia, and said, Little Xia, you go back to the office first. I will talk to Mr. Liu. You deal with the things over there first. If someone looks for me, record the matter. Okay, Vice President Liu. Little Xia didn't think much about it at all. She didn't know that Liu Jinan deliberately sent her away. She thought that Liu Jinan trusted her and sent her important things to do. However, Little Xia couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. After all, what was so important about talking to an employee who came to make trouble? Little Xia was too lazy to listen to these trivial matters. Chapter 1505. After Little Xia left, Liu Xiaolei was the first to help Liu Jinan close the door of the conference room. The previous anger and resentment on his face suddenly changed into a flattering smile. Brother Nan, my performance wasn't bad, right? How was it? Was the show successful? And, very good. Liu Jinan nodded with satisfaction. I didn't expect you to have a talent for acting. It seems that Ji-Fei is quite good at judging people. Thank you for the compliment, Brother Nan. I don't know what Brother Nan promised me. Liu Xiaolei first smiled, then said seriously, my father's matter. Don't worry about your father's matter. I have asked Ji-Fei to contact a few people who work as black market intermediaries in the hospital. If there is a suitable kidney source, I will stay immediately. As for your father, I will also let the hospital use the best medicine to maintain him. Even if a suitable kidney source can't be found, his life will not be in danger, said Liu Jinan. Thank you so much, Brother Nan. Thank you so much, Brother Nan. You know that my mother ran away with someone when I was young. My father raised me and my younger brother alone. My younger brother is still young and has just entered high school. As for me, I can cure my father's illness and leave a large sum of money for my younger brother. Even if I do this, I will not complain even if Brother Nan wants to silence me. Liu Xiaolei finally breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Liu Jinan's promise. Don't make it sound so scary. When the time comes, you just need to find a place to hide. At most, it will take 3 to 5 years. When I succeed, you can swagger back to the company. At that time, your contributions will not go unnoticed. At the very least, I will let you be the pillar of the subordinate company. Liu Jinan began to paint a picture of Liu Xiaolei to satisfy his hunger. Thank you, Brother Nan. What Liu Jinan said was also what Liu Xiaolei hoped for, but whether it could be realized in the end was still unknown. However, even so, it was always good to have some hope. Moreover, the most important thing was that the matter in front of him was solved. Otherwise, how could he, as the deputy captain of the escort team, afford his father's huge medical expenses? Tomorrow, I will find someone to swagger your father into a luxurious ward. Everything will be done according to plan, instructed Liu Jinan. I understand. Then, Brother Nan, I will go first. Liu Xiaolei saw that it was almost time, so he got up and said goodbye. Yes, let's go out together. Lu Jianan also stood up and walked out of the conference room with Lu Xiaolei. The moment they walked out of the conference room, Lu Jianan regained his amiable smile, and Lu Xiaolei also showed a grateful and heartfelt smile on his face. When people who passed by saw it, they would know that his problem had been solved. Sister Huamei, I heard that Lu Xiaolei went to the Jiangyan Group's headquarters today to petition for his old father. Jing Xiaolu walked into Lu Huamei's office and told her a piece of news that she had just received. Lu Xiaolei is an employee of our Mingjiang escort company. It seems to be against the rules to cross the line and visit the Jiangyan Group's headquarters, right? Could there be some kind of conspiracy behind this? I've just heard about this as well. Lu Huamei said, the person who received him was my elder brother, Lu Jianan, but I heard that it was resolved very well. This makes me feel a little strange. My elder brother has always been the kind of person who doesn't do anything unless it benefits him. Why would he be involved in this matter? That's right. Su Xiaobin's previous incident has already explained this. Lu Jianan isn't a person who likes to meddle in other people's business. If the matter doesn't benefit him, he won't bother at all. Jing Xiaolu said, this is also why I was in a hurry to tell you. But it seems that Sister Huamei has already received the news. It's not that Lu Xiaolei is crossing the line to petition. Although he is an employee of our Mingjiang escort company, his old father is an old employee of the Jiangyan Group. So, it's not unreasonable to go directly to the Jiangyan Group for his father's matter. Lu Huamei said, what I can't figure out the most is why my elder brother would personally handle this matter. There must be something wrong with this matter. I think we should be more careful. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with being careful. Jing Xiaolu thought about it, but couldn't think of anything. Forget it. No matter what, the matters of the group have nothing to do with me now. Let's work hard to manage this escort company. Maybe my elder brother has changed for the better. Lu Huamei sighed and stopped thinking about these things. Oh right, Xiaolu. I haven't seen the real boss behind the Mingyang company until now. Is he not back yet? Not yet. Jing Xiaolu's face was slightly red. When I called a few days ago, he said that it would take a while before he could come back. I heard that he's your boyfriend. Lu Huamei smiled and asked teasingly. How could that be? He has a girlfriend. Jing Xiaolu was embarrassed, but subconsciously denied it. Lu Huamei didn't say anything more. After all, this was Jing Xiaolu's private matter. She couldn't interfere. She also heard from Bao Sanli that Jing Xiaolu seemed to have a special relationship with Ming Yang's behind-the-scenes boss, Yang Ming. This also made her instantly understand why the legitimate general manager, Bao Sanli, was so respectful towards Jing Xiaolu when he first contacted Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli in the office. It turned out that this was the reason. However, when Lu Huamei found out that Yang Ming was also a freshman like Jing Xiaolu, she couldn't help but be shocked and wanted to meet Yang Ming. Originally, Lu Huamei thought that it was already amazing for her to be qualified for the position of the company's financial director at such a young age. However, after knowing that this Ming Yang company was founded by Yang Ming, the pride in her heart disappeared. No matter how capable she was, she could only perform under the great halo of the Jiangyan Group. However, Yang Ming built two companies of considerable scale from scratch. The status of the Ming Yang company in Songjiang was not inferior to the status of the Jiangyan Group in Jiangyan City. Although the scale of the two was very different, Yang Ming was only a freshman. Moreover, this Ming Yang company had only been established for about half a year. This made Lu Huamei have the urge to meet Yang Ming. She wanted to see what kind of person he was to have the ability to build such a company. Of course, Lu Huamei only wanted to meet Yang Ming. She didn't have any other thoughts. Therefore, she just smiled indifferently at Jing Xiaolu's blush. She secretly thought that Jing Xiaolu was probably overthinking and thought that she was interested in her lover. The next day, Lu Jinan vigorously brought Lu Xiaolei's father, Lu Tipi, to a luxurious ward in the best hospital in Jiangyan City. He also deposited 100,000 yuan in the hospital account for the medical expenses paid in advance. He would refund the overpayment and make up the shortfall. This move completely convinced those who originally thought that Lu Jinan was just saying it. They also began to sincerely think that Lu Jinan was a good president. A good president who thought about his employees. For a time, Lu Jinan's prestige in the company reached an amazing height. He had a good reputation. Old Master Lu Jiangyan was also shaken again. In the past, Lu Jinan would definitely not do such a thankless thing. But now, he seemed to have changed into a different person. He began to think about the company and the employees. This made Lu Jiangyan feel that although Lu Jinan's qualifications were mediocre, he was still a good candidate to take over. After all, the chairman didn't need to be very capable. When the time came, hiring a professional manager could make up for this. The most important thing for the chairman's successor was to have a heart that thought for the company and the employees, and not be blinded by selfishness. Only by protecting the company and appeasing the employees could a company continue to develop in a positive manner. Chapter 1506. Compared to the huge Jiangyan group, this incident did not cause much of a stir. Although the old man Lu Jiangyan gave Lu Jinan high recognition for his concern for the old employees, it was only a trivial matter after all. After a few days, the effect of this incident had faded a lot, and the work of the Jiangyan group continued as usual. Most people gradually forgot about this incident. At this moment, it was time for Yang Ming to set off. He had lived in the butterfly family for nearly a month. Although there was some pressure from the elders regarding his engagement with Wang Xiaoyan, Yang Ming was still willing. The newlyweds also took the time to visit the nearby scenic spots as a honeymoon. Old Buffon also had his own things to do. Before Yang Ming set off, he also bid farewell to the butterfly family. However, the friendship between the Buffon family and the butterfly family was indestructible. Some of the negative effects brought about by the Lancer family had also disappeared. The entire European upper-class society seemed to have forgotten the existence of the Lancer family. However, this was not surprising. Who would mention a family that had already been destroyed for no reason and offend two families that were in the limelight? One must know that both the Buffon family and the current butterfly family were not to be trifled with. I'm back. What happened this month is still vivid in my mind. I didn't expect it to be so dangerous. Yang Ming looked out of the window. Through the thin fog, he could clearly see the matchbox-sized buildings. He said with some emotion, "The Lancer family's enmity is unjust. It should be said that they died unjust." Wang Xiaoyan smiled. "Why? If you knew it was so dangerous, you wouldn't have come." "To be honest, if I knew it was so troublesome, I really wouldn't have come." Yang Ming sighed. "You." Wang Xiaoyan listened to Yang Ming's heartless words and suddenly became angry. She glared at him, but when she saw Yang Ming smiling mischievously, she knew that she was fooled by Yang Ming. "However, that was under the premise that I didn't know that you were the one I was engaged to. If I knew that I was engaged to you, I would have gone even if it was a dragon's lair or a tiger's den." Yang Ming changed the topic and smiled. "That's nice to hear." Wang Xiaoyan snorted, but her face showed an indescribable expression of shyness. Then, her expression darkened. "If possible, I would rather stay in Europe and not come back, but in the end, I still have to face reality, this." Yang Ming naturally knew what Wang Xiaoyan was referring to. He smiled helplessly and said, "Don't worry. After I go back, I will find a chance to talk to Meng Yan and the others about this matter, when I return. No need. Wang Xiaoyan shook her head. I don't know if I can get along with them. What if they ostracize me, and I get angry and do something that you regret? What should I do? This. Yang Ming looked at Wang Xiaoyan with some embarrassment. Wang Xiaoyan's words really scared Yang Ming. With Wang Xiaoyan's means, it was easy to kill Qin Mengyan and others. Look at how scared you are. Wang Xiaoyan smiled at the moment. I'm just joking with you. Even if I really can't get along with them, I can only endure it. How can I really kill them? After listening to Wang Xiaoyan's words, Yang Ming suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, but he still had a bitter expression. It's really hard for you. Forget it. It's nothing. Anyway, you live next door to me. You often climb the wall in the middle of the night to see me. I don't want to think about anything else. Wang Xiaoyan smiled. This can be done, right? Yang Ming nodded and didn't say anything, but he thought that he had promised Wang Xiaoyan, but he was a little embarrassed to say it. This time, Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui came back with Yang Ming. The four people got off the plane in a low-key manner and left the airport. Ho Jinhan had been waiting here for a long time. He took the luggage from Yang Ming and others and got into a Buick commercial car in the parking lot together. When Yang Ming came back this time, he only informed Ho Jinhan. Although Bao Sanli was also a trustworthy person, Ho Jinhan was more stable and tight-lipped. Because it involved Wang Xiaoyan and Fang Tian, Yang Ming didn't want others to know too much. Ho Jinhan wasn't a talkative person. After nodding to the people around Yang Ming, he turned a deaf ear to them as if they didn't exist. This made Yang Ming very satisfied. First, Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui were sent to the newly bought villa in the villa area of the development zone. Then, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan returned to the Huashang district. Seeing that Wang Xiaoyan actually lived in another villa next to Yang Ming's villa, Ho Jinhan was a little surprised, but he didn't ask much. Generally, the matter of picking up and dropping off Yang Ming was done by Bao Sanli, but this time, Yang Ming called him by name. Ho Jinhan also vaguely understood some of the reasons. Although Yang Ming now also trusted Bao Sanli, he was afraid that the people who came back with Yang Ming this time didn't want others to know, so he only called Ho Jinhan over. Ho Jinhan was one of Yang Ming's earliest confidants. He could be absolutely trusted. This was also the reason why Yang Ming did this. However, after Ho Jinhan thought of this, he was very excited. It seems that Brother Yang still trusts me the most. Originally, Yang Ming now basically looked for Bao Sanli to deal with everything. Although Ho Jinhan didn't say anything, he was a little disappointed in his heart. He thought that Yang Ming now relied on Bao Sanli far more than him. However, it seemed that Yang Ming didn't do this today. Instead, he always let him take charge of the company's overall situation. He no longer bothered him with some small things. When he really had to use him, he would look for him. Go back and have a good sleep. Reverse the jet lag. I'll see you at school. Yang Ming didn't get out of the car, but waved to Wang Xiaoyan. Although it was daytime now, Qin Mengyan and others should be at school, there were always accidents. If Yang Ming got out of the car to send Wang Xiaoyan off and was seen by Qin Mengyan, then it would be hard to explain. Wang Xiaoyan nodded, but she quickly entered her villa like a thief. She waved to Yang Ming, turned around, and closed the door. Today's matter, don't tell anyone. Yang Ming also closed the door and then said to Ho Jinhan, who was driving in front. Don't worry, Brother Yang. If we, the special forces, don't want to talk about things, even if we use special means such as hypnosis, it can't help. Ho Jinhan smiled and promised, Brother Yang, aren't you going home? At this time, Meng Yan should be at school. Let me make a call first. Yang Ming said as he took out his mobile phone and dialed Chen Mingyan's phone. Yang Ming couldn't wait. Mingyan, where are you? Sorry, the number you dialed is turned off or is not in the service area. Please dial again later. Yang Ming was slightly stunned. Chen Mingyan actually turned off her phone. Generally speaking, Chen Mingyan never turned off her phone. Even when she was in school, she would just set it to vibrate. Could it be that she was having an exam? Thinking of this, Yang Ming didn't care much, but he dialed Lin Jiyun's phone. This time, the call was connected. The phone rang twice, and it was picked up. Yang Ming. Lin Jiyun's hesitant voice came from the other side of the phone. Jiyun, it's me. Where are you? Yang Ming heard Lin Jiyun's voice, and his heart was slightly relieved. If Lin Jiyun also turned off her phone, things would be a bit unusual. Yang Ming, it's really you. Lin Jiyun's surprised voice came from the other side of the phone. Are you back? I just got off the plane. I'm at the door. Mingyan and the others are with you, right? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Yang Ming, Jia and I are now at Sister Mingyan's house. Sister Mingyan is in trouble. After Lin Jiyun's surprise, her voice became nervous and hurried. Come over quickly. What? Mingyan is in trouble. What happened? Yang Ming was shocked in his heart. When he was preparing to leave Europe the day before yesterday, Yang Ming still had a video call with Chen Mingyan and others on the internet. In just 2 days, Chen Mingyan was in trouble. Sister Mingyan was kidnapped. Yang Ming, you come quickly. I'm worried to death. Lin Jiyun's voice had a crying tone. Kidnapped? Then you wait for me. I will go over now. Yang Ming's brows suddenly twisted. Chen Mingyan was kidnapped. What the hell is going on? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.